Um, projects, talk a little bit about projects. In your blue binder, there's a form that you're gonna look at. If you're interested in doing a project, it is voluntary. That kind of describes what it is that you'll fill out, but the format is like a science fair. Our graduation will be across the parking lot in the building over there, June 6th, I believe it is. And at that graduation, before the graduation starts, everyone that has done a project, including the junior master naturalists, who will put you to shame. Just saying. These, 9 to 12 or 9 to 14. They're pros at doing projects. Line them up and people come around, your peers, guests, you know, anybody that's here and looks at your projects. The project is as much for you to take a deeper dive into something that really interests you. And then get a chance to present that and share it with others. It is typically on a board or bringing something that you did. It is self-managed, we'll tell you that. It is voluntary. You say, hey, I want to do a project, fill out the form, so we know you're coming as much as anything. And we'll have enough tables set up for all of that. It can be an individual, you decide on your own you want to do a project, or, and we love this part, find like-minded interns, and do it as a team. I would suggest that probably the next couple of classes, we're thinking about this, we may do a few minutes where we do land, plants, animals, water. And y'all go find something and see if there's somebody like-minded in that general area to do that. If not, an individual project works. It's here. The form in your training manual is what you can turn into us. You can get started whenever you want. If you want to start right now to do a project, go for it. If you find somebody to say, hey, let's go do this, that's great. Some examples. I think we mentioned these last time. Stephanie in the back did a herbarium. She did a whole book, literally, where she found the plant, classified the plant, pressed the plant, put it in a book. So she's now a plant specialist. No, she said, no, I'm not. It's here. Ashley had a team that did bats. You're interested in that, and they did a whole presentation. Carolina, where's Carolina? She brought some native plants that she grew and potted and gave away. You know, that was like a highlight of last time. People were over there lining up for these plants. A couple years ago, I worked with a team and we did all things water, just water information, scaring people about the lack of water and the ungodly amounts of poop that hit the ground. Dog poop that hit the ground in our community and how easy that is to fix. So, we also had one really interesting, who wants to get it last one? Pocket Prairie presentation.
Mark.
Is Mark?
Yeah.
Where he actually created what's called a pocket prairie, which is a little spot of land that he set aside and planted native prairie plants in there. And he showed how he did it and the progress he made and the plants he used. And it was really interesting presentation that he did.
He had seeds too.
Yeah, he had seeds to give out. So, yeah, bonus points if you got giveaways. So, be thinking about it. You can start it now, you can start it Friday night before Saturday graduation. As long as you tell us that and bring it. It might be a little late, but
If you're growing plants, start.
Yeah, start early. All right, any questions for our next guest speaker?
So before we leave today, after each session, we're gonna have this opportunity as you leave to mark on the flip chart over there, your key takeaway from the day or the progress that we've made. And we'll review that at the start of the next session. So on the flip chart, just jot down with the marker your key takeaway, the thing that you really resonated with you. Okay. So shall we start with our first
with our first presenter, which is Lisa.
Lisa Houston, who's the president of our chapter. Sure. State of the chapter.
Well, no,
I can just stay right here.
right here is fine, okay, where's the L, I don't want it to, there it is, okay. Yeah, there's the L.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody, my name is Lisa Houston, thank you all for being here, and those of you online. Hi, Gwen, good to see you. That's what she did, that's okay. Thank you all for taking this experience with us. I was in your seat in 2023, so I'm a fairly recent graduate. Gotta admit, I look forward to doing this for years and years. My mom's been a master naturalist for over 15 years, so I was watching her do it and I kept saying, I want to do this. And she's like, you can't, honey, you're too busy. So finally got to retire and do what you're doing. So I hope you find it as beneficial as I have. So I'm just here today to just give a face to the president. I saw a lot of you in the meeting on Wednesday, so thanks for coming. That's certainly an opportunity to learn what's going on in the chapter, volunteer opportunities, meet other members, etc. We have approximately 150 active members, and then once this class graduates, we'll grow a little bit more, so we've been growing over time. This particular chapter, just to give you a little bit of history, is 20 years old. It actually split off from the Gulf Coast chapter. We had a lot of people up on this side of town, going all the way downtown to meetings and doing volunteer work, etc. And there was enough impetus for a group to get started up here. So in 2004, they got a committee together to explore it and set the path and the bylaws and everything that was required to start this chapter. So we celebrated 20 years last year, which is amazing. And it was a really fun opportunity to go back into the history that really wasn't captured very well. And so we spent a lot of last year capturing our history, our officers, all the projects that we worked on, all the partners that we had. And I'm glad to say that we have that captured now. But anyway, that was pretty fun. So welcome to the 21st year and all that you're going to bring to it. I also like to point out opportunities to get involved. I know everybody comes from a different space. For me, it was I kind of came in sideways and did some work. Invasive species was kind of my hook into Texas Master Naturalists. So there's a lot of ways to get involved and a lot of things that people are interested in. But I always want to say that there's administrative work that needs to get done too, and it counts for volunteer time as well. So if you have any interest in working on any of our committees, we're really trying to grow those out. So show the committees on Wednesday, but I'll just kind of go over the ones that really need some help. We need some help with the communications committee. This is working on our website, our bulletin, our newsletter, social media, things like that, and other communication channels that we deem might be interesting for the chapter to use. We have kind of bare bones right now. We're really looking to have 2 people on each of those things. So if you have any interest in helping in those areas, or if you have some expertise, we'd really love some help. And again, this is volunteer time, right? So to get your 40 hours, and you'd be very surprised how quickly that adds up. Just doing administrative work. So communications is one. Another one is outreach. That's probably a lesser amount of time required because there's kind of a season for outreach. We see it at Arbor Day, it comes back in the spring, so it's kind of cyclical. But Brenda Reeves is running that by herself right now, and she needs some help. And it's not necessarily doing the outreach, it's just planning for it and getting volunteers to do it. So that would be working with Brenda to determine how much outreach we can do and to work with those other organizations to get those things signed up, get sign-up sheets together, and ensuring that we have volunteers available for those particular days. So as I said, that one's a little bit smaller. Those are the biggies, but we have a lot of opportunities. So Diana's running the program committee. She's got a couple of volunteers right now, and I'm sure she could take a couple more. If you look at our committee structure and you think there's something that you'd like to do, please raise your hand. Michael mentioned chapter rep. We'll need that hopefully in place by February's board meeting, which is the first Wednesday of the month. Very low, that's an hour a month, basically, except for where you're reporting out here. He mentioned the reporting out, but we like reporting in as well, right? So you're bringing the thoughts of the training class, things that you'd like to see as a group come to the board. So it's a 2-way communication. So that's another volunteer. So anything above and beyond, let me know. We also have, of course, a lot of all the volunteer opportunities you've already heard, bulletin, website, et cetera. But be sure and look at that projects page. That is, our partners and basically what they have available. So if you have some interest in a particular organization, you know, we have 12 to 15 partners. I mean, it's a lot. So, you know, Native Plant Society, Land Conservancy, Mercer, Jones, I mean, all the parks. There's a lot of opportunities that are not necessarily listed in the bulletin specifically. That if you go to that project page, you'll find contacts that you can reach out to and say, hey, I'd really like to volunteer and this is what I like to do. And your mentors know about these things too, so you can always talk to them about that too. There is one project I want to mention that's not on the list, and that is a bat acoustic monitoring. If you have any interest in bats, we've had an effort, this is actually a statewide effort, but it's done by the chapters, where we actually put out acoustic monitors in various locations, usually in a grid, where they really want to know what types of bats are in a particular area that they don't have information on. If that's something that you're interested in, let me know. There is actually data analysis. We do have one person doing that, but we could probably use one more. And then the people that actually go out and place the monitors, you have to kind of give them around. So if that's something that you're interested in or think you might be, come see. Okay, any questions? Anything on chat? Okay, all right, well, thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. Great information from Lisa. Key takeaway is probably volunteering and getting in touch with the chapter and attending the meeting. So Virginia, you have a few things to say?
I do. I was just gonna give you a little tour on the website and give you a few pointers. Let me just bring it up. So we are Heartwood, so it's Heartwood chapter. If you type in Heartwood chapter, Texas Master Naturalist, it should get you there. I think we may have showed it a little bit last week, but I just wanted to reinforce some things that are on here. The pictures that we're taking are gonna go in the directory. To get into the directory, I don't know, Roxanne, do you want to write this on the board? The password? It's protected from. It will get you in and you can come and you can see who the board of directors are. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not sharing this. Let me share this real quick.
And there's no space between the D and the R.
No space.
It runs all together.
All one word.
And that's password for which section?
The directory,
Members only.
members only directory, where your picture will show up if you give me a picture.
Members only directory.
So
Oh,
it's right here under current members,
current members
members
or
only.
members only. Okay.
And so if we go back down here, here's some of the committee people, advisors. And if I go back to the directory of members, that's where all the pictures will be. And right now, we still have last year's interns listed at the bottom as interns. But as soon as I get everybody's picture, you will be down here. It'll be 2026 interns.
Okay.
And I've got most of you, and those of you I don't, I sent you an email earlier this week. Because some of you said you were gonna send one in, otherwise come find me, I'll take your picture. Let's make sure. The listserv will sign you up for notifications from the state. So if you go to Texas Master Naturalist and do a search on that, and go to the main Texas Master Naturalist page, it talks about all the chapters. Up here, it has a little redirect that says this is where you really want to go. And I'll send you this link. And down here, this mouse is not great. Right here, join our TMN email listserv. So what is that? It's a sign up and you'll get emails into your inbox once or twice or 3 times a week about different opportunities. Some of them are volunteer opportunities that are pertinent for a wide audience that might want to go and participate, like something that would be covering beach cleanups over several counties or things like that. So sort of big volunteer projects. And then the other thing is advanced training. And that's what I use it for the most, is you get an email that says, hey, if you want to become a decent entomologist, here's a class that you can take. Here's the link, go sign up. If you want to watch a chapter meetings presentation in Dallas, sometimes they send theirs out and say, hey, we've got this great speaker. It's about working with indigenous people and the environment. You know, everybody's welcome, and you can go and zoom in on that. So that's a way to find out about AT hours. So that's on the listserv on the Texas Master Naturalist main website. And like I said, I'll send a link to that. The other thing under chapter resources is media down here. And up here, it says visit and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So this is the opportunity. We told you, if you miss a class and you can't, if we have a Zoom and you can't do the Zoom, you can watch 2 classes on the YouTube channel. So we're recording this today. So in about 5 days, depending on how long it takes and how the power situation is this weekend, there will be the recording of this meeting on this YouTube channel. And you can send a note to Heartwood Training and say, hey, I'm going to watch class number 2 for my YouTube credit. And then we will send you a list of questions for you to answer afterwards. The state has a requirement that you need to have 40 hours of class in person, and they don't want you to just watch things and be in a vacuum by yourself sitting in your house, because you don't get the interaction of asking questions of people or hearing other people's answers and discussion. So if you watch YouTube, we'll send you a email with the questions for you to answer, and then that will help you get the credit for that class. And you can do that for 2 classes. So you can get up to 8 hours of your 40 hours doing this YouTube channel. So like, here's a class from last year. And it, basically is the recording from the Zoom recording. And I think I might have one more thing I think that's it. I think I got them everything. So anybody, any questions on the website or the YouTube or anything like that? And I'll send a link to all those. I'll send a link to the YouTube, a link to the listserv, and a link to where the directory is.
Are you going to review separately how to log our volunteer hours?
Melissa is going to go into that in intricate detail today.
Okay. Yeah, so this is our new section. You're gonna get one of the people from the training committee every class, and we call it Minute of Opportunity. This is how each of us volunteers, because we all volunteer in different ways. Now, before, this is just 1 minute, so I have to be very quick, but if you have any questions, contact me. Yeah. First of all, if you don't have time to volunteer yet, focus on your initial training and you will be able to volunteer later. If you have extra time, then you can do both.
Then look for something that works for you. I am a freelancer, so I never have a fix. I cannot volunteer for anything that requires me to do stuff on a set day every week. Because I confirm on Wednesday that I can do this on Thursday, depending on how much work I have or not. So I need like flexible opportunities for me. Also, I have lower back issues, so I cannot do any lifting or stuff. You also need to take that into consideration. So some of my main things: bicep with the Bioland Conservancy, removing invasives. If you ever want to learn how to murder a Chinese tallow with very simple tools and not a lot of machinery involved, none, this is the place. You contact Diana Philpott, who is there, and she will get you started. Tiny Woods Environmental Research Laboratory, there's a lot of things that they need help with. It's during bicep is Thursdays, 8:30 to 11 a.m. The Pine Woods Laboratory, any day during the week, you contact Jesse, and depending on what you can do and what you want to do, it's more of a by appointment thing. This one is in Huntsville, but it is worth the drive. It is so beautiful. There's planting, clearing, things like, oh, today I need to put this nylon to cover the greenhouses. And can you help me with that? So you will arrange that with Jesse in advance, and that's his email. And then the last one is Clevewood Ecological Surveys. They happen on Tuesdays in the morning, and you just go around with some of the people who work there, and there's a pollinator survey one Tuesday. The next Tuesday, the following month, it's let's see how many birds have nested in our birdhouses, and you learn so much because you are there doing the survey and you have these people that know so much around you, and you learn an amazing amount of stuff. Now, for that, you need to go to the Precinct 4 Harris County page, and if you want the link, let me know, and I couldn't put it there because it was way too long. But once you enroll in Harris County Precinct 4 for volunteering, you will get the emails for all the sessions. The next one is February 24th. That is a Tuesday from 9 to 11. And if you have any questions, I'll be in the back of the classroom, or you can text me or whatever.
And for those of you that are more west in Harris or Montgomery County, Heartwood is really great because it's over off 99 and or Crossroad it's west, it's northwest.
Okay.
Thank you, Caroline.
Yes, Gwen, she will be presenting the next topic. And Gwen, if you could just say a few words about your background. And we got a full class and a full Zoom session for you. So we're ready to go. We're going to check out the volume to make sure everybody can hear you.
Okay, am I good? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good.
All right, and the volume's okay?
Yep.
Okay. Hi, I'm Gwen Lanning. Unlike a lot of people that are going to come and speak to you, I am not accredited in anything. I'm not an expert. I'm just a Heartwood chapter person since I started in 2009, graduated in 2010, and have been active every year to some degree. And I just learned a whole lot of things about a lot of topics. So I'm just hoping to ignite your interest, spark something where you find a topic that you like. All right, so what we are going to do first, I have two sessions basically, and the first one's about 45 minutes, and it's going to cover things from the archaeology chapter and from the historic naturalists of Texas. We're going to do 20,000 years of Texas history in 45 minutes, basically. So we're going to look at who were the first naturalists to study in Texas and what were their experiences. And we're going to start here. This is one of the most important places in Texas, and it's one of the least interesting to look at. This is near Florence, Texas, which is northwest or north of Austin, north of Georgetown. And when you walk down this pathway, you can see different rock beds coming together, different layers of rock, and you proceed down this little hill and you cross this little boring looking little stream and you come to this cow pasture with this little markers in the middle and you're like, okay, what could possibly be here? But in 1904, this was owned by a rancher named Galt, and people always found Indian artifacts on top of the surface, and he let people come in and he pay to dig. So in 1929, archaeologists found the place and realized it was important, but they were like, it's been dug over so much, we'll never find anything here. But then somebody came back, they got permission from the landowner, and they did an excavation. And the landowner, oh wait, let me get to, all right, the landowner came on this. This was, I think, in 2007. And they realized it was a mammoth jaw, and around it were 22 projectile points. And then we'll back up and we'll leave Texas for a minute and go to New Mexico. So in 1929, some of these projectile points had been found in Folsom, New Mexico, with the bones of an extinct bison. And it was one of the first times that they had found evidence of human activity with the bones. And so they could date them. And they said, okay, humans were here 12,700 years ago. And the way that they name, when they find these points that have a distinctive look, they name them for the place that they were found. So those are called Folsom points. And you can see that they're sort of mid-size and they have this big fluting down the middle with just some little flakes around the edge. And then in 1934, these more robust points were found in Clovis, New Mexico, and they were found with the bones of a mammoth. And so they said, okay, humans were here 13,500 years ago. And then they called those Clovis points. And the consensus was, okay, that's the earliest humans were in the Americas. There's no way they could have been here before that. And then all around the Americas, they have found Clovis points there's 14 different areas where they have found them with animal bones where they could date what it was. They didn't know if the Clovis people have anything in common with each other than their technology. They just don't know that much about them. But they decided that was the oldest humans could have been here. So then at the Galt site, they dug down, they found this mammoth jaw, they found the Clovis points, 22 Clovis points. And they said, for the archaeologists that found them, said that this is more Clovis points than most people see in a lifetime. And here they all were around this jaw. So then they kept going, and you can see here, they got to like a empty, sterile soil, nothing in it. But they kept going down to bedrock, and they found even older, all kinds, just tons of them, 100,000. They count the little chips and everything. And they can now use the luminescence dating, and so they date those to 14,000, 16,000, maybe 18,000 years ago. I'm sorry, 20,000 years ago. You see this before present BP. They mark the dates differently all over. They say BC, before Christ, BCE, before the Common Era, BP, before present. and YA years ago. That's all different ways that they will mark it. But it's just, get this out of here. Incredibly important. It looks like nothing. They went ahead and they closed that pit back up because of course, fears of looting. And then the water table is so high there that they were just always having to pump the water out. And so I'm just touching on all this. This information changes all the time. Just they're constantly finding new sites in the Americas that are pushing back the date that people got here. And so I recommend this site, the Center for the Study of First Americans. If you're interested in this, it has a lot of just a lot of resources. And then this movie just came out, The Stones Are Speaking, and it goes into how the Galt site was run over the years and the way that the archaeologist Mike Collins worked with the landowners over the years to get them to allow the dig and to allow, now it's in nonprofit hands, the archaeological, I'm sorry, I've lost, Tarl owns it, and you can go and tour it. And the movie just says it all. It's available on PBS, streaming, Amazon, etc. Okay, let's see if I can, let's see. Okay. Are there any questions? See if you can see chat. Do that, everyone. I can't hear myself, so this is weird. So, all right. So, oh, let me get rid of that. In your manual, the chapter on archaeology, it will say that the Paleo-Indian era was 11,500 years ago, but that's just getting knocked back all the time. And so what's important to know about these eras of when the Native Americans were here and how they used Texas is that it was always changing. There were early on small family groups of 15 to 25 people moved around. They followed the mastodons, the mammoths, and large now extinct bison. So they lived very minimally. They were always following these big herds. They had large stone points, which were affixed to their spears or the atlatls. Then the megafauna became extinct, and we don't know for sure. Some people say it was overhunting, some people say it was climate change, and we still don't know for sure. But the people had to switch to going after smaller game, so they switched to lighter points. They tended to stay in one spot longer because like deer don't migrate, so they were increasing their use of the smaller game, and so they stayed where the game was. And then they started using hot rocks to cook. They had their population increased about 2000 BCE. They started gathering maize, and by about 1100 AD, they were domesticating plants. The bow and arrow was invented here about AD 500, which was later than in Europe, the European area, and pottery about AD 1200. So they were always having to adapt to all kinds of change. Then, okay, this is moving a little closer to our time. This is a really interesting cache that was found. This is from 4,200 years ago. And this was found in a cave with all these tools in it. And one of the most interesting things to me is these are rabbit mandibles, 11 rabbit mandibles. These are mountain laurel seeds and buckeye seeds, which could be used as hallucinogens. And so they think that maybe this was a Vision Quest pouch, or it could have been a hunter's pouch. They're really not sure, but it's just so interesting to see what the people used that was around them and how they made them use of everything. So when the Europeans first got here, there were many different Indian groups in Texas. And as the Europeans got to the east coast of the Americas, of course, they pushed Native American groups further west, and that impacted the ones who were already further west. And it was always change that they had to deal with. So the Spaniards got here 1519. And ironically, a lot of what we know about the early Native Americans came from expedition from Cabeza de Vaca, who got here in 1527. He was part of an expedition of, I think there were 300 people on the expedition in two ships, and they were, of course, being Spaniards looking for gold. And so they landed, we're not sure where, but we think they landed somewhere here. They told their boat, the people got off the boat, some of the explorers got off the boat, and they were like, well, we'll see you in 2 weeks. But they went the wrong way, and it never occurred to them to backtrack and find the boat. And so many of the people over the course of years died, and only Cabeza de Vaca and I think 4 other guys made it all the way back to Mexico. So he traveled through this area from 1527 to 1536. And then he didn't write about it until about 10 years later. So things that he wrote about the different Native American groups that he encountered, he had language barriers. He might not have got information correct. He might not have remembered everything properly. But what he did write about was how they made the use of the native plants. And these were some of the ones that they could have used, the Mustang grape and the common persimmon. They would set up camps when the prickly pear fruit were in season, and they would just live near the prickly pear and eat the tunas and process them for a few months at a time, and also use honey mesquite. This is what a nature guidebook looked like in the time of Cabeza de Vaca. It was these lovely little woodcuts, and the information was mostly aimed at what the plant does for us. This is about animals from 1658, talking about a beaver. The medicinal virtues of this beast are in the skin, the urine, the gall, and the cods. And first, a garment made of the skins is good for a paralytic person, and the skins burned with dry onions and liquid pitch stayeth the bleeding of the nose, and being put into the soles of the shoes eases the gout. So this beaver, if you just know how to process it, apparently it would fix many of your ills. But that's what their nature information was like. I've got to do something. I cannot see anything besides my screen, and I don't know if y'all are. Let's see.
No, we're good.
Okay.
We'll ask you
Okay, I
questions.
see it. It's above now. Okay. And is the audio okay? This is just going to be crazy because I can't hear myself. Okay, well, I'll just go. All right. So when the Spanish got here, they had a lot of different expeditions coming across Texas. These are some of the years that they came. This is the kind of notes that they took on Texas, they would talk about the day of the month that they traveled, where they ended up, the leagues they traveled, the direction they had traveled, and then what they saw at their campsites. So they did make some nature studies, but it was mostly just sort of landmarks so that the next expedition would know to pass along the same path that they had gone before. So this is just the political frontier. Texas, as we know, changed hands a lot of times, and every time it did, somebody would send an expedition to see what they had and what they could make use of. And so out of all the people who came here, the manual has chosen to focus on the naturalists whose extensive efforts provide not only a legacy of exploration, but also the basis for understanding our modern flora and fauna. So when I was signed up to be a master naturalist, the chapter on the early naturalists of Texas was 95 pages long, and there were dozens listed on each page very briefly. And now they have, in your manual that you have now, they've picked some of the most important to focus on. And I'm just going to touch on a few of those. Okay, and then this is just for us to orient ourselves in time. The Louisiana Purchase was 1803. Lewis and Clark expedition, 1804 to 1806. They did not send an actual naturalist on that expedition. Then we had Mexican independence, 1819. Alabama was the 22nd state in the U.S. 1825, the Erie Canal opened, and the sixth president was John Quincy Adams. So this is where I have my expertise. I worked at George Ranch for many years, and so I lived in 1830, essentially. This is a map from 1816, and you can see, we're going to zoom in, that it was not accurate. They're showing us with a lot of nice mountain ranges in East Texas. This is the Erie Canal when that opened. And this is where we were with science at that time. In 1807, Robert Fulton's Clermont went up the Hudson River from New York City to Albany, becoming the first commercially viable steamboat. And so by the 1830s, more than 1,200 steamboats were plying the Mississippi River. And I think all the naturalists I'm going to tell you about came to Texas by steamboat originally. This was the state of trains in 1829. This is the Rocket, which won a locomotive contest. And it just had like a kilometer of a circular track, and people would ride it for entertainment. And the Baltimore and Ohio had 13 miles of track, but the carts were horse-drawn. We still didn't have a germ theory of illness. And so there were big cholera epidemics. And this was an illustration showing how it swept through the people like a big monster that nothing could fight against. So just as today we send explorers into the Amazon, in the 1800s, various governments and universities would send sponsored expeditions to explore Texas, and they would send a naturalist, mild-mannered naturalist. When I learned about this, to me, it was sort of like an extra thing to do to be studying plants. I did not know, I did not think about how back then everything that they had was from plants, animals, minerals. There wasn't chemistry in the early 1800s. They couldn't just go, well, we like this. Let's see what chemicals we can throw together to achieve this effect. these are books that were published to show like that these are food plants, medicinal plants to make gums out of. You know, we don't think about where you get your glue, but they had to know how to extract it from plants. Fiber plants, dye plants, and spice plants. So an expert at a university or a government office might arrange for a collector to be sponsored on an expedition. And then they would try to get subscribers to sign up to get the collection. And it would be $40 to $50. So think about this, it's 1840 and you're asked to put up $50 to send somebody off into the wilds, and you don't know if you're ever going to get your plant samples in return, but people did it, and it would be about $1,500 to $1,800 in today's money. And then the intrepid collectors would go out into the wilderness and collect. And then they would send their specimens back, and the grad students would eventually catalog them, and it was quite often decades before the findings were even published. And my ears perked up when I heard about Stephanie and her plant collection, because she can tell you how much work goes into it and how bulky a collection can be and how to arrange the information. And so that's what these guys were trying to do out in the wilds of Texas. And so to think about the logistics and the things that they needed, simple plant collecting doesn't need that much equipment. One of my favorite stories was from Thomas Drummond, that was collecting, and when there were bears, he would rattle his vasculum, because again, in these times, it was to load a gun took 30 seconds for one ball. So it was easier to scare the bears off with noise than it was to try to shoot them. These were the things they needed. And it amazed me that they had specialized paper back then, absorbent paper for the fresh plant specimens, stiff paper for the plants once dry. But then everything that they were carrying with them was heavy, copper, glass. They didn't have nice little Tupperwares like we have. This is a glass jar full of cochineal insects, which are used for red dye. And this was collected in 1841 by Berlandier. I'm going to talk about him in a minute. If we want to look up a plant, of course, now we have iNaturalist, take a nice little picture with our phone and it tells us what it is. Back in the day, we had these nice color nature guides, and you could just flip through till you said, I think that's my plant. But their nature guides in the 1800s looked like this, mostly in Latin, very few illustrations. And so most of the naturalists would study these things before they came out, and then they would kind of have to just remember the information. They couldn't always even bring this kind of book with them. This is one of my favorites. This is how they studied color back then. You would just have to know, and when you look at this, this is the color of the neck of an eider drake. This is I can't read it, a butterfly wing. You already had to know what it was referring to. There was no standardized system of talking about color. So when a naturalist came to a scene like this and saw all these very similar looking plants, they would have to know, are these different plants? Did I collect this yesterday? Do I have this specimen? Is it worth taking multiples of this. And then they had the plant presses, which got very bulky. And when you're trying to load them all in a little wagon pulled by oxen or horses, it was not very popular with the people who had to load the wagons. And if they were out camping, they might go, wow, this is a great place to camp. Look at this. But then upstream, maybe it rained and this is what happened. A lot of them had this happen where all their samples got flooded, got moldy, got washed away. And then just the nature of the animals they were trying to find. The animals, of course, would avoid humans or maybe be nocturnal. So they'd have to look for evidence, nests and bones and feathers. And another thing that they did was to hire locals to shoot whatever they could find and bring them the animal. These are some turtle eggs that a critter found and just left the shells. Tracks, snake shed, and poop. You can look at the bones in the poop and see what's around. This bunch, I think I found very limited information online, but this seems to be that a skunk found a beetle nest and ate all the beetles and then pooped out the shells. Okay, so going back to let me see. Are we okay on chat? Do we need anything? Oh, let me get.
We're good. We're good.
Okay. 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 All right. So that's the logistics. And now I'm going to talk about a few of the important names that come up over and over in the Latin names that we've given things. So Jean-Louis Berlandier, a lot of these guys fit a profile of being from the East or from Europe, studying, and then coming to Texas to do research. So Berlandier was born into a poor family. He ended up studying plants at Geneva University with Auguste de Candolle. They wanted to explore the plants in Mexico. So they were saying, well, you're young and unattached, so why don't you go? So he landed near Tampico and he stayed in Mexico for a year while money for the expedition was gathered. And then while he was there, he did these kind of drawings of the landforms. So he arrived in Mexico in 1826 and was sent out with the Mexican Boundary Commission. They were to determine the international boundary between the Sabine and the Red River. And he collected 55,000 dried plant specimens. And he went up what is now the Camino Real. They went through Mexico, crossed at Laredo, went up to Bihar, over to Navasota, so close to where we are. He crossed Holland Creek, and I cross it all the time, and I always think of him. He got malaria while he was there, so they sent him back to Bihar while the rest of the group went up to Nacogdoches. So he sent back to Switzerland 55,000 specimens of 2,320 plants. And they got their fine, but de Candolle told everybody, well, that wasn't enough. I don't think I got my money's worth. So Berlandier heard that, and then he was like, well, I'm never going back. He just stayed in Texas. And I just admire him so much because he gathered data in so many different areas. He worked as a doctor and he died crossing a flooded river in 1851 down in Matamoros. And his widow, he married a native woman, and his widow was like, I don't know what to do with all this stuff. So an army officer bought it and then sold it to the Smithsonian. And they and Harvard still have it, but they haven't digitized it. You know, a lot of this stuff is available online, but they have not digitized all his stuff yet. But he was also very interested in the Native Americans and their way of life, and he collected all kinds of things from them and wrote a book about the different groups of Indians that were here in 1830. So this is just some of the areas of data that he collected. One of my favorites is the cyanometrical. I had never heard of that. That is, what is the color of the sky today? He had manuscripts in all these areas, comparative anatomy, birds, meteorology, just on and on. These, you can find a lot of his plant samples in online herbariums, and this is one of my favorites because it says it was collected between Laredo and Bayard. Like, oh yes, we can just go find that right now and see if our plant is still somewhere in that 400 miles or whatever it is. And so the Texas green eyes is named for him. The Rio Grande leopard frog and the Texas tortoise. So now we go on to the era of the Texas Republic, which of course we say that we were independent in 1836. Well, Mexico did not exactly agree with that, and they continued to document in Texas territory. There were Comanche Kiowa Indian Wars, 1840 to 1870s. Texas was annexed to the U.S. in 1845. Then we had the Mexican-American War. And then we had the United States and Mexican Boundary Commission, 1849 to 1852. So by this is a map from 1833, which is looking more accurate. This is showing the different impresario areas that were set out. And what this was, the leagues were overseen by somebody, like I'm sure you've heard of Stephen F. Austin. He was not given all the land. He was given the rights to bring settlers into the land. And then for every so many they brought in, the impresario would earn acres of their own. And this is Washington on the Brazos, the house of the, I think the second president of Texas. And then this is a recreation of what buildings would have looked like back then and what people were dressed like. This is what Austin looked like in 1840. So into this world came Charles Wright, and he was another one who was educated in the East. He came here and as a teacher, and he had started sending samples to Asa Gray. Asa Gray was back at Harvard, and he was coordinating different expeditions, the work of different naturalists all over the world. So this was his world in 1844. And so he got Charles Gray a position on the U.S.-Mexico Boundary Survey Commission. So they were going from San Antonio to El Paso and back. The military agreed to transport Charles Wright's trunk and paper. So he had to walk, which, yeah, I guess that's what everybody did if they didn't have a horse. And he gathered his samples. And this is around Seguin. This is what it looked like crossing a river where it had been settled. View of San Antonio. This is what a camp looked like They camped on the Leona for quite a while, sorry. This is the kind of territory they would have been walking through. But poor Charles Wright, they did not ever come up with a way to get him his fed. So the officers would say, well, we'd love to help you, have you eat with us, but then we would have to give food to everybody who came along. And the enlisted men were already mad at having to haul his stuff. So they didn't want to let him eat either. And so we have all of his letters are online, and I've transcribed a lot of them, and it's just the poor guy. Every 2 weeks he was writing back to Asa Gray going like, nobody likes my work. I have money in my pocket, but it does me no good. I can buy nothing with it. It's not like there were stores anywhere. I sit invited and see others eating, and it is a severe trial to my feelings to thrust myself among them. The men have their ration and often none to spare. How am I to get along to El Paso? I know not. Sleep all night if you can in the rain and walk 12 to 15 miles next day in the mud, and then overhaul a huge package of soaked plants and dry them by the heat of the clouds. I have been taxed enough to cry or swear when thinking that I have the pleasing prospect of being dependent for 6 months on a parcel of men who call me a fool and wish me at the bottom of the sea. So in the manual, I think they give Charles Wright about 6 paragraphs, but this is what life was like for him. He was paid about 10 cents a specimen, which is about $4 in today's money. And it seems that the subscribers each got 400 to 800 specimens. And they were paying about $2 to $5 a specimen. And again, you can find his things through the Botanical Research Institute of Texas. Secondly, he went on another commission, and at this time, trains were now looking like this, and the United States government was trying to find the best route to plan a intercontinental train, and so the Charles Wright went on the expedition that went from El Paso to California. And this is a goldenrod that's named for him, and the rock tick seed. Then there were other guys that did not fit the pattern of, okay, we were educated and we came out as part of an expedition. Some of these guys, we would call it like the gig economy. Let's see. They were independent, they collected what they collected, and this guy, Belfrage, at death, his whole estate was worth $441. His books were worth $35, and his insect collection was worth $360, and that's it. That's what he had. And then Halligbrote had this enormous collection that is still at the University of Texas. Ferdinand Lindheimer was another guy. He came from Germany and lived in Texas for many years. He got to do Charles Wright's dream. He got his own wagon and mule and just would go out with a gun and 2 dogs for months at a time and just collect what he wanted to collect. He wrote a lot about plants, but he wrote in German, and so his knowledge was underrated in the US for years. He shipped plants to St. Louis for 8 years. There were subscribers, but there was a lot of confusion with how they were labeled and cataloged. And then someone in Germany published the information without permission. It was a big mess, but now he's really recognized for the work that he did. And this is his house in New Braunfels. And we have the prickly pear named for him. So, go, someone say, okay. In 1891, this is what the rail map was looking like. And then this is one of the saddest chapters, I think, in women's fashion, was these bird hats. Just horrible. More than 5 million birds a year were massacred yearly to satisfy the millinery trade. And this is the little rookery at Smith Oaks. And the people would go and just shoot everything they could see. They wouldn't even think, let's leave some for next year's millinery trade. They just shoot them all. And so into that world came Florence Miriam Bailey. And she studied at Smith College, and she very early on was opposed to these hats full of feathers. She saw one of her friends had a hat with like 17 hummingbirds on it. And she just thought, that was horrible, that people needed to learn to appreciate birds on the wing and to study them. And so she wrote the first popular American bird guides using simple field keys. And again, she wrote birds through the opera glass. They didn't have binoculars. They were just using little opera glasses. And this is what still, to talk about color in identifying birds and stuff, they're getting a little more uniform, but still it's not anything scientific, really. So this is the field color key from her book that you could, for the first time, you could look up and go, okay, this bird is blue and it has a large head. And then you could go and read the little life history of it. She did field work with her husband here in Big Bend. And that's her book. So the work that these people did is still very important to us today. Their samples that they saved, their skins, their skulls, their specimens. When we look at these birds, the ones on the left were collected 1916, the ones on the right, I think in about 1970. And same here, all the darker ones were collected 100 years before. And what it shows us, they were darkened because of all the coal in the air, all the soot from the coal-fired industry that we had it cleaned up by the 1960s. If we didn't have the actual specimens, we wouldn't see that. Okay, so let's see, I'm gonna do, these are my recommendation. Like, if you want to know more about the Native Americans, these are really good resources. And that movie, The Stones Are Speaking, is excellent. There's a lot of videos out there about the Galt site. And of course, it's some retired person walking through saying, oh, wow, look at this. So I recommend the ones that are from Archaeological Conservancy or Center for the Study of First Americans or Texas Historical Commission, because those are, fact-based. And then these books, I recommend these books really well. And then if you are the kind of person who wants to know where I got all my sources, I have the list, but probably no one really wants to know that. So let me see how we are. Anything? Okay, chat. Okay, good. All right.
So somebody wanted to, see your archaeological, reference in the very beginning, the link that you had. on
Okay,
your-
this is the one, it's The Stones Are Speaking.
Right?
And
you.
then all of especially this one, the study for First Americans, they've got so much stuff. And I just became a member of them too. And the information on when people first got here is just changing constantly. They're finding so much stuff all over that it was earlier than they thought. So, um, we can take a break before the next one, or the next presentation's shorter. I know people want to probably get home. So tell me what you want me to do.
You guys wanna do? Keep going?
Keep going.
We'll keep going, Glenn.
Okay. Okay. Crystal, you said the list of edibles, herbals, and medicinal plants that you want me to go back to the slide that shows that link? I get on archive.org all the time. And I just look up old books. Go back real quick. I'm sorry, I can't see my other. Here it is. Nope, nope, nope. Okay, so here it is, Crystal. It's history of vegetable. This is at archive.org. Yeah. Okay. All right. So now let me stop this share and go to my other. Let me close out of that one. Okay. Okay, is that one? Are we good?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So this presentation is covering the chapter on the land ethic in your book. And again, I think information that Master Naturalist presents is kind of taking a little different path from what they had in that book. So this is, I want to learn all the things and I am behind schedule. So I know if you meet John Stacy, he told me once, well, I only have one nature guide and that's all I need. I have nature guides that go back to the early 1900s. My husband's grandfather was an ag teacher in 1914, and I have his textbooks and I read them. I love it all. So these are just some of mine. Um, we live up here at Dacus. That's where most of my pictures are going to come from. This is a barn on my farm. My husband's family bought this property in 1962, and we have this little tank, and the dam was nice and clean back then, and now it's all overgrown. And then our family, we did have a place here in Rock Springs for 23 years. But with our getting older and losing mobility, we sold it last year. And we ended up buying a little place next door to my daughter in Llano so we can go babysit. But that's where a lot of these other pictures come from. And that's what that looks like there. So, the Texas Master Naturalist Program's mission is to develop a corps of well-informed volunteers to provide education, outreach, and service dedicated to the beneficial management of natural resources and natural areas within their communities for the state of Texas. This is Edwards County too, when all the verbena is blooming. So when we think about the different regions of Texas, East Texas, Port Aransas, Galveston, Pedernales River, Blue Hole in Wimberley, Edwards Plateau, Big Bend, Guadalupe Mountains, and the North Texas Plains. Whether you're in an urban area or a rural area, nature's all around us everywhere, and people who need us to help them understand it. 83% of Texas land is rural, but 86% of the population lives in the urban areas. There's 30 million of us about in Texas. 95% of Texas land is held in private lands. And this is, different than most of the Western states. Most of the Western states have a lot of public lands. The large ranches are being broken up into smaller properties. About half of the landowners of rural property are absentee landowners. Healthy land is important to all Texans, regardless of where they live, regardless of if they go out into what we think of as the natural areas, because healthy land gives all of us better grazing land, better wildlife habitat, greater ability to withstand drought and flood. That's important to all of us. Less susceptibility to plant and animal disease, less susceptibility to erosion, more productivity, and more beauty. So beneficial land management practices look different depending on which region of Texas you're in, but this is not beneficial land management. This happened across the street from me. There was a 7 acres, and like overnight, this happened, and they only left these trees because that was on the neighbor's property. They dug these trenches and started throwing stuff into it and burning. And one of the neighbors went over and said, "What's happening?" And they said, well, we're a company from Louisiana. We're going to clear pipeline easements, bring it all here and burn it in these trenches. And what they didn't know was that people in our neighborhood were fire marshals and environmental consultants and knew that that would not be legal. So that came to an end, fortunately. But this nice little suburban house, which was my house in Sugarland, that's not so great either. There's nothing native in this little landscape. We have the Bradford pear, and well, I guess the bald cypress was native. But when we first moved into this house, it had been empty for a year, and the first letter we got was from the homeowners association telling us to pull the weeds, which were pink ladies, the evening primrose flowers. They viewed those as weeds that needed to be removed. So just because it's green doesn't mean it's healthy. If you got nothing, you've got a lot of Asian lady beetles as your only wildlife in your yard, that's not so good. So for Texas Master Naturalists, we need to begin our studies of the natural world and continue our study delving into the elements and keep in mind the interconnectedness of the natural world. And I love this lyric from Lucas Graham that the smallest voices, they can make it major. So when we're defining healthy land, it would have diverse native flora and fauna populations and be sustainable long term. There's two basic goals: diversity, to look for a variety of species and variety within species, and sustainability, to use a resource without depleting it or permanently damaging it. And so when we're looking at a place, we can look at what is the diversity of species that are present. So here we've got our white-tailed doe, and here we've got an elk. Elk were in Texas, and they have been reintroduced. What is the diversity within species? Do we have different age groups, different health levels? There's a little ringtail. These are all critters that I did not know were in Texas still. How do they relate to each other? Are the predators allowed to live? Oh, I just want to go back. So on this creek I had two cameras, a still camera and a video. And if I didn't have them both, this was the still picture was the fox. And then the little spotted skunk came up on the video, and they're very rare. So I was glad to capture that. That's the only time I saw one. And this is my Photoshop. So who is here who's not native? Sometimes things look cute, they look healthy, but they shouldn't be here. These are aoudad, which are, I think they're their own thing. They're not sheep, they're not goats, they're not antelope. They were brought in from Africa and they're everywhere. These are axis deer, which were brought in from India, and they can outcompete the whitetail because they will eat grass as well as the leafy forbs that the whitetail like. And of course, we all dread hogs. And this is why, and when you look at the varied age group of this little bunch of hogs that went across in 3 seconds. And how they just keep coming. More. So, and again, this looks great, but this grass is King Ranch bluestem, which is, even though it's called King Ranch bluestem, it was brought in from Africa. It has spread like crazy. It has replaced a lot of the bunch grasses that were good because they allowed pathways between the clumps of grass for quail and things, and they weren't as likely to burn. We can look at who is not here now, but used to be here. Here's javelinas and black bear. Black bear are coming back to some parts of East Texas and down in Big Bend. Our population's changing, monitoring for bumblebees. And then these little green tree frogs, I know. So we've been living on the place in Montgomery County for 17 years. And in that time when we first got here, I saw these green tree frogs everywhere. And since we got here, I started seeing Mediterranean geckos. And I don't see the green tree frogs anymore. And I don't know if they'll come back, if it's just cyclical. I don't know, but it's worth tracking. So looking for an ideal 21st century native habitat, we can't bring back, like make everybody move and just have bison and stuff, but we need to be hoping for a diversity of healthy, sustainable native plants that historically lived in the area, grasses, forbs, and woody plants, and have them be free of pesticides and herbicides. And we would want the habitat to be home to a collection of native animals, insects, reptiles, birds, small mammals, herbivores. The populations of animals should be sustainable long term, free of any exotic animals. So that's what we're aiming for. So now looking at, okay, this is my hay pasture. So what should I be doing with this? What's here? What needs to be done? In the early 1800s, much of the state would have been open grasslands with occasional bison herds. The bison moved so much that the grass had time to recover between them sweeping through. And then you also had, of course, wildfires, and then you had predators. We cannot really establish those conditions again. So Aldo Leopold was writing in the 1930s, 1940s, and he pointed out that we can restore nature with the same tools that we have used to destroy it: the axe, the cow, the plow, fire, and the gun. And it's equally important to manage for a high level of plant succession in wildlife habitat, using these basic tools to produce high quality habitat and to have more stable conditions during stress periods such as droughts and winter. So this is ash juniper, and it is native, but it's been allowed to overtake so much land that it's one of the bad things is it stops the rain from getting through and going into the water table. And so it needs to be managed and cleared in spots. You can have cows, but what they recommend, it used to be big range for cows, turn them all out and let them wander where they will. What's better is to have small cross-fenced pastures and move the cows a lot and let the grass recover in between. And controlled burns. My daughter is a park ranger at Enchanted Rock, and she has done her firefighter training, and she goes out on controlled burns in the state parks to help them keep down uh, the fire load in case of a uncontrolled fire. And then these beautiful exotics, fortunately for us, they taste delicious. So it's good to use the gun and keep their numbers down. So the chapter in the book is, in my mind, it's really aimed at large landowners and what they can do. And of course, a lot of us don't have large amounts of land. We might have a suburban yard, we might have a balcony in our apartment. And so this is Douglas Tallamy, and he, I think, is kind of the Aldo Leopold for our time. And he talks about small things we can do, and that if we would just dedicate part of our lawn to native plants and stuff, we could easily add as much land as in all the national parks. We could add, he calls it homegrown national park, and we could benefit wildlife with small steps. And so tying back to the historic naturalists, we're following in their shoes. They didn't have to be so very specialized. They knew things in a broad sense, and we are all valuable for doing that too. And these are some of the things we can do, some of the skills that they used that we can do to help conserve nature. And so, again, this is my place, and just looking around when we first moved here, I wasn't a master naturalist yet. I did not know very much. I knew things like pine tree, oak tree. I did not know what a yaupon was. I knew tallow trees were bad. That was about it. And through the master naturalist and through walking my place almost every day over these years, I have observed a lot. I had set out like, well, I'm just going to learn every species that is here. So this is a view of the pond edge. This is part of the tree line. And so for me, this is what I would see in just like an hour's walk on one day, just observing. Western honeybee. This is a wolf spider. Her babies are on her back. This is an insect nymph on a coreopsis. A bullfrog with a little minnow, which I never pull them out and find out what they are. Spice bush swallowtail. Zebra longhorn beetles. Little wood satyr. And then that was like a half an hour's walk. This is during a bio blitz. And so what I do then, this was back during the pandemic. So this, saved my life back then. I went out to that hay pasture, and even though it's Bermuda grass for hay, which is not recommended, there's still plenty of plant and animals within it. So this was within 10 square feet. I would sit outside and see what I could find. So this plant is hairy vetch, which was introduced and has spread, but it's not invasive. It's not bad. And it's full of all kinds of insect life. Here again, we have another Western honeybee. Then the southern carpenter bee, the males are light with green eyes, and the females are all black. And robber fly with a flower scarab. I love these guys. They have the skull on their back. And a calico pennant. And a gray hair streak. They have these false heads. Emerald flower scarab on pink ladies. A Riekertz blue and the ever-present love bugs. And then there was the snake skeleton in there too. And then another thing I've started to do now, and then again, it's getting older, not moving around so much, is putting up a sheet. I learned this from Sam at the Master Naturalist conferences. Just put up a sheet with some magnets on a vehicle and hang some cheap black lights. And everybody gathers around to see what critters we got. This was a toe biter that they got down there in Houston, right by a fancy hotel. But these are some of the ones I've gotten. I was so happy to learn about this bug. I have a sweet gum tree that in the spring I would walk out and all these skinny little branches would suddenly be scattered on the ground all around. And I would be like, well, how did that happen? And then I learned about this insect, the twig girdler, that I guess is doing that. This is a Carolina sphinx moth that my dog was playing with in the yard. And since it had been in her mouth, I thought, well, it's not gonna do well. But I put it out on a tree just to see, and I went back and checked that night, and its wings developed fine, And then this is what it looks like under black light. And then the other fun thing about mothing is that their names are just so ridiculous, like the distinguished Colomicus. There's ones called a Merry Graphic and a Festive Midget, and I don't remember what all else. And this one is just beautiful. And then like these wasps that come up, Luna moth. And so this is what I just have some cheap black lights. And this is a great thing to do if like when I'm visiting with my kids and grandkids, we can sit around at night and the adults can have a beverage and we can see nature and the kids are amused and nobody's in trouble and they really love that. And then sometimes I just go out with a regular flashlight and my camera at night, and it just helps get great photos because the background just goes away. And just to see, oh, look, there's a caterpillar sleeping. So I said, okay, I'm going to find all the species. Well, this is what I found so far. All these, like when I became a master naturalist, I did not know that there was more than one kind of dragonfly in the world, but I have found 32 just on our farm. And then moths and butterflies, I'm up to 120. It's just amazing to me. So another thing people do is they track the phenology and they make these phenology wheels, especially, artistic people, they do the phases of the moon, and then they might do a different plant, or just they might do um, a slice of sketch of what they saw that day. Another thing to track is life histories. This is a nest. We have a smoker, where my husband grills, and I happened to find this nest in it one day, and I was like, well, these are not going to do well. And I would go back every week and just take a quick peek, and they hatched and feathered out. And then I just happened to be out there the day that this one, he flew out the vent and he was fine. And metamorphosis is just so fascinating, watching the insects hatch. I would find these cocoons everywhere, and I kept one, and this is what came out of it. Just the beautiful antenna of a male moth. And then found this grub in the compost heap so you can see how big it was, and I kept it, and it turned into an ox beetle. I will net for the dragonfly nymphs and see what I get because these all look different, and iNaturalist can usually tell you, what family of dragonfly they're in. And so this was a picture I got of a blue dasher, but zooming in, you could see how he had these battle scars. And then looking at how the animals relate to each other, this was a battle between a wasp and a spider, and the spider lost. Here's a dragonfly eating somebody. Oh, this one, the great blue heron, I saw him with this fish and he got it down. I couldn't believe it. And then this one, this blue heron wrestled with this fish forever and finally gave up, and I went and got it. It was dead. So it was a catfish, and we have never stocked this pond with catfish, but that's a pretty big catfish. That was him afterward. He was. And then another time when I was walking, I saw these feathers. These are arranged, but I saw these clumps of feathers and I thought, oh, that's a weird way to molt. And I went a little further and I saw more. And I went a little further and I saw more. And then I found this claw. And so I collected them all. And Fish and Wildlife has an online site called the Feather Atlas. And so you can compare your feathers. And so it was probably that either a barred owl or a great horned owl had taken a broad-winged hawk, is what had happened with those feathers. And of course, dung beetles are very important, helping us with decomposition. We came home one weekend and noticed that our tree had fallen over and that there was a beaver in the pond. And sometime it came out in the day and I got some pictures. And of course, we do have the dreaded hogs here. These are some of my favorite things that I have found. This is a southern short-tailed shrew. Um, this animal is both venomous and poisonous. So if your dog ate it, it would get sick, but it can also envenomate its prey. And it has this really high metabolism and it needs to eat a whole lot. And yet I've seen them a few times. And then this one was really weird. This was a bat that came out in the afternoon. It was August of 2023, so it had been real droughty. And iNaturalist was not able to tell me the species. I couldn't get good enough pictures. And then I love this little screech owl that it was in a hollow tree, and so the ear tufts looked like broken stubs of the tree bark. And then this roadrunner, we have roadrunners, but this one just came up on the porch and looked at me one day. And then this mockingbird was jumping up and down on my chicken coop, and I was like, what are you doing? And then I saw what was going on. So because I have chickens, I have rat snakes like all the time. And then this snake I've only seen once, this little Texas brown snake.
So cute.
I know. This one, I had come home from a Heartwood meeting and I had brought refreshments to it, and I was bringing the containers in the house. It was in the summer, and I was like, why is the sidewalk moving? And it was this water snake that was right up by the house. And then these hognose, this was one year, I think this was 2011. I saw hognoses everywhere that year, and I have not seen them since. And then I just like looking with the camera. I don't have good vision myself, but with the camera, when it zooms in just right, and I can't even usually see the picture I'm taking because it's so bright outside, I can't really see what's on the screen of the camera, but sometimes the pictures just come out so well and you can just see every detail. And then this is one of the turtles, and I noticed that it's missing most of its back leg. But turtles are really hard to get pictures of because of the reflections of the water. And then these are the tiny little skinks, like they will be in the leaf litter by your feet, and you think that it's you're like snake, but no, it's just these little skinks. So they're just adorable. And this is a siren. We've had these just show up a couple of times. They're a salamander that's in the water, and it just it's like spends its whole life in the larval stage, they say. So that's also called like a mud puppy. And then who can resist a bold jumping spider with their bright green fangs. And then the crab spiders, and how well they are camouflaged. And then this one looks like it has another crab spider on its back, the patterning. And this is one of my favorite insects. This is a Texas wasp moth. Like you look at it and you think it's some huge wasp, but then you see the proboscis and the feathered antenna. And I mean, the fringy legs, I mean, it's just awesome. And then always trying to get the shot where the dragonflies lenses show in their eyes. So the land ethic reflects the existence of an ecological conscience. And this in turn reflects a conviction of individual responsibility for the health of the land. Health is the capacity of the land for self-renewal. Conservation is our effort to understand and preserve this capacity. We abuse land because we see it as a commodity belonging to us. When we see land as a community to which we may belong, we may use it with love and respect. So what can we do? Leave dead trees standing for bird habitat, if you can. Leave some native plants for the wildlife. And help people understand how important native plants and pollinators are. I heard, I know that a lot of y'all already know all of this. Especially, like my neighbor lives out here. She's a master naturalist, has been, but she's still scared to death of wasps, and just helping people understand that things like that are not after you. That's very valuable. This is part of the Lake Livingston project to put native plants on this shoreline. People ask, I think I'm on my 4th bridge camera. Sometimes I take 100 pictures a day, and I tend to wear out the sensors and everything. And so it's got a great zoom. Like if that's what you see, it can zoom in like that. And then I use Photoshop Elements and I just crop. I'm on iNaturalist as Textile Ranger if you want to look for me there. And that's it.
Any questions, Virginia?
No, there was a little bit of discussion about the green anole and the brown anole, invasive one, but.
I don't know. And I have just seen that on iNaturalist. Like when I first started putting up observations, it just said annul. And then lately they've had that separation, but I don't know the difference between them.
Brown one's invasive.
But I don't know how because you
They're a
can
little bit-
see green anoles turn brown.
The brown anole is called the Cuban anole. It's smaller, shorter, stocky legs, and it has a strong crest going down its back, like a little sail, and little white spots.
And that's the one that.
That's the invasive.
That's invasive.
I have a question.
Okay.
Gwen?
Yeah. Yeah.
You used to keep a website where you shared a bunch of your pictures and things like that. Do you still do that? Do you still do
Well, yeah, I do. It's littlewildstreak.com, but I never post there. But it's got good pictures from the past. But so everybody's welcome to look that But mostly my pictures are on iNaturalist and I have them copyright free and everything. So if you're looking for anything in particular.
Any other questions for Gwen? I saw some great comments, Gwen. They found it very incredible, your presentation. A lot of people thank you for your knowledge. So we thank you for joining us this morning.
Just a couple of hooks and for future presentations we've got. You heard her talking about the scientific name for a lot of these plants. One of our future sessions is, what's that name? And you'll see Lindheimer and some of these others as the scientific name of a lot of the plants, and you'll learn how those came to be and where they fit in the whole kingdom, phylum, species, order, all the way down. So remember some of those because you'll see them come up again. You'll see them also when we go to Mercer. And Anita Tiller starts talking in all of the terms, then your head will swim unless you're a master naturalist already that's here, but that's great. What?
And even then.
And even then, yes.
We have a generator and everything.
Oh, good.
Next up, we're talking about all things BMS. This is your chance. I would call this an amnesty session. Ask any question you want. This is the time we have Melissa all to herself here to learn about BMS. I'll introduce Melissa as a woman who broke my heart this morning. She did bring banana.
Sorry. I should have. I had time yesterday and I had some bananas on sitting there, but I'll bring some to the next meeting.
Melissa in the real world, the unreal world, manages what, 5 daycare centers?
Yeah, not early stuff.
Early childhood centers. So dealing with chaos is nothing new for this woman. And VMS is kind of a world of chaos. And so,
It is, yeah.
so we're gonna turn it over to her and take good notes, because this will save you much pain and suffering later.
It's not that hard.
Well, I'm talking about from people like me coming up to you saying you gotta put your hours.
Yes, they're gonna hound you because they want you to put your hours in on time, so we can make sure that you have all your hours before graduation. So, did everybody log in yet? Is everybody in this room logged in? And then, okay, so did you get to look at the system any, or what? Did you get to look at anything? Go in the system and look up opportunities? Did y'all get to do any of that?
Tried.
No, okay, that's okay. I have my computer. So when we're done, can pull things up and I can help you face to face if you need to. And then I will come to a few more meetings here and there, because I'm also doing the master gardener training in Waller. So I can help out, and you can always email me or call me. Sometimes people just call me on my cell phone and then I walk you through it. I have all the screens memorized in my head. So I can literally tell you which drop. I've been doing it for 8 years. So which screen, which page to drop down to get where you're going. So I'm gonna log in and share the screen so everybody online can see everything. Let's hope this works. I changed. Okay, so y'all can see where I went to the Heartwood chapter website. And then you're gonna go to current members and go to report volunteer hours. Okay. And then scroll down, and there's a lot of things on this page. Here's your report where you're gonna go. Here's the VMS help ticket. If you ever have a problem, you can put in a help ticket. After you talk to me and I tell you, oh, now you can put a help ticket in because we can't figure it out. But sometimes that happens with our oops. It is sensitive to capitals and okay, so now I'm in the system and let me move this. When you log in, you'll see your lifetime hours and your this year hours and your AT hours on the right hand side. And that tells you how many you have. It will not give you intern hours, unfortunately, okay? You'll see find opportunities, my schedule. We don't really use these, but they're there. report my service, log into my logbook. This is where you can check things. So what we can do is I'm gonna go to log into my logbook because I want you to see that sometimes things aren't approved yet. So if I have things that are not approved, they're gonna have a little box by them, which means they have not been approved. So don't worry. But this is also where we can edit things and change things. So if you accidentally put in the wrong opportunity, you can come through here and click the box and then scroll down and delete it or edit the record. Okay? It's real simple to do. And even if you click on the wrong opportunity, you will have to go back and delete that because it's going to leave a box on your log, even if you didn't put anything in there. Okay? So that's just how to check your stuff. Let's go back to the dashboard and report my service. So this is where you're gonna see all of our stuff. And it can be a little intimidating, can it? These are all our partners that have opportunities on our VMS. And they're really, I think it's pretty plain. It's very understandable. You can see all their names and maybe some of you have already been volunteering at different groups. Is there anybody in the room that's already volunteering for another partner?
Luke Houston will do his part.
Yes, they're on there too. So you'll be able to just pick your poison, I say.
Melissa, a couple of folks mentioned this morning, I
Yeah,
think all they saw when they went to this was just initial training. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's because their opportunities haven't been added. So Kimberly, I thought Kimberly was gonna do all them, but if she didn't, I'll go back through and I'll add them on. So that's not a big deal. Some of them were missing initial training. I remember we had that conversation. Me and Kimberly had that conversation. So she's learning how to do this for y'all, so she can start doing the intern class. So we're kind of all going back and forth. And Stephanie's doing treasurer. So there's a lot of learning going on. So you'll have to be patient with that, but it's all fixable. So AT is advanced training, and that's where you're gonna put all your training outside of your initial class, okay? So if you come to a chapter meeting, the first part of the chapter meeting is gonna be CB chapter meeting on our board here. And then the second half of our meeting is gonna go under AT chapter meeting, okay? So that's kind of tricky because if you travel to the meeting, you can claim some of the time. You cannot claim more time than you spent in the meeting. If does that make sense? So if you were there an hour, you can claim an hour in travel. Okay? Even if you travel 2 hours there, you can only claim an hour. You cannot claim travel time on AT at any point. Okay? You can only claim it on the other opportunities. So if you were going to Mercer to go do something and it's even if it's resource management or field research, you can claim some travel time on there. You just can't overreach and claim more than you traveled. So, yeah,
You said we cannot claim travel on the AT?
correct.
Okay, so for the chapter meeting, we would claim all of our travel under CB or just?
It's in your chapter, it's combined, but it cannot be more than the time that you spent at the meeting. So,
Oh, right.
so
Could
if,
you do the chapter meeting that we had last Tuesday, and then they got it?
yes, so last Tuesday was 0.75, or last Wednesday was 0.75. So you can only claim 0.75
Of
travel time.
Okay, of travel.
Yeah, its meeting time was 0.75, and then the AT was also 0.75. So,
But the E2 is 0.75. I thought it was an hour. We come to the chapter meeting, you get an hour.
it was almost an hour. It didn't quite get an hour. Jennifer didn't go that long.
And then the other part of it was 0.75
Mhm.
for advanced training.
Most of the time it is an hour. She just cut short, and I keep the time, so I'm always watching. I always write down the time when the meeting starts, when Lisa starts the meeting. And then they'll check and say, what's the time? And I'll tell everybody what the time is. And then when the AT starts, I clock that time, because generally we start our meetings at 6:30 now, and we hope to finish the business meeting at 7. And then we hope to start our AT at 7 and end at 8, if not a little later, give or take. So some speakers will go longer. And then she didn't have a lot of questions, which sometimes we do want them to cut off about 45 minutes in, so they have question time. Because a lot of times we have a lot of questions from our members asking the speaker a lot of questions. So
Can we see the chapter meeting on there, the two
yes,
sections?
let me show you.
Thank you.
So AT chapter meeting is right here.
Okay, excellent.
And then you'll scroll down to CB chapter meeting.
Okay,
So CB is chapter business, so anything under chapter business. And we'll go through these right now. So DO is direct outreach. And when you pull up something like this, it tells you a description. So direct outreach, leading, organizing, developing, delivering, instructing, or staffing an educational activity where participants have a planned learning objective and generally stay for the full event, whichever agency that is. So that means they're not leaving your presence. You are up here teaching them, and it's direct outreach. Okay. Now, if we go to another one. Field research. Field research is leading, organizing, developing. Nope, hang on. Field research, data collection for various organizations not listed with other partners. This is the bird one, but basically field research is anything you go out to get data for. I'll give some examples. We have weather. So Coco Raws is a field research, and I'm sure y'all are going to get to that part of your class where you learn about monitoring weather. So this is a fun weekend because a lot of times we don't ever get to monitor ice and sleet. So we actually, I know it's kind of fun. I've already did my weather. We had 0.52 rain this morning, but you get to report that. So when you report weather, it's usually 30 minutes a week, which is 0.50 a week when you're doing your weather monitoring, which is field research. If you're doing Feeder Watch, which is another research-based program, it's where you watch birds in your yard. It's a great one too. I love that one. I was watching birds this morning. I didn't want to leave. The birds were all fluffy looking, and I wanted to stay warm in the house and watch the birds. But you log that time that you're watching the birds. So you count all the birds in your yard, and you write down all the species and you log those in every week to Cornell. And then they're tracking all the birds' migrations and everything from your stuff. What?
Since we have this very untimely bio blitz starting this morning,
Mm-hmm.
How do we report the bio blitz?
Well, it's going to be field research other. I'm sure that because there's no,
Okay.
I don't,
And there is a time limit, right?
yeah. Invasive well, it's invasive species, right? The
It's
bio blitz
invasive,
today.
yeah.
So it can go under field research invasive
Okay.
species.
Thank you.
So no, there's not a time limit if you're going to be out there freezing. We don't getting all that. I don't think we're going to see a lot of hours on that. But yes, from the time that you go out and start doing that, and it's a sanctioned event for iNaturalist, right? You are doing it on iNat. You can go do that. Now, you cannot go in your backyard outside of a sanctioned event and do iNaturalist on your own and claim it. That's a whole nother paper we're going to email you out for the field research rules. eBird is another one that we don't go out and log a bunch of stuff on eBird because we don't use it like that anymore. You can log the time that it took you to put your species into eBird up to 0.25. That's it. And then everything else, I'll give an example of JoJo because she goes out for Bayou Land Conservancy and she does all the bird watches. She claims that under bird populations, field research bird populations. And when you do that, when you go under these that don't have a partner like Huntsville State Park or something like that, you're going to go to the description box and you're going to write where you were. Like if you're going to do your bio blitz today and let's say you're over at WG Jones doing it for, in looking for invasive species, you're gonna put which BioBlitz it was and where you were at. So,
It's not, sorry, if it is not a park, but it's a plot of land somewhere in the woodlands, do we go like by neighborhood?
yeah, you can put by neighborhood on there, and it's just a tracking, because somebody may want that data later.
Yeah.
And we may have to pull it up, and I may have to run a report and give it to somebody, and it'll just show where everybody's at. So Adopt-A-Loop is another one for field research where Corinne collects the data, and he wants to know how many people went to each one of those Adopt-A-Loops. And I have to give him that data to see how many of our members went to each one, and each one has a number, but that's a whole nother issue. So, but that's field research, and you can see here's, we do have a big city nature challenge coming. It's in April. You can all participate on that one on that. There's Coco Ross, and then the backyard bird count is coming in February, or the big sit. Y'all can do that one. And these are great places to get your hours too. Okay, so there's a lot. Go ahead.
Right above that, you said on the eBird monitoring, because I'm a big eBird person. Just when I'm inputting,
No, you're not gonna use that one.
oh.
I'm gonna take it out. I'm sorry. I need to take that one out.
So the BioBlitz today is that invasive species thing, or is it?
It's gonna be under the invasive species one,
Yeah, cause
right here.
On the calendar, for
Yep.
the event, it lists the VMS code to use iNaturalist.
Oh, well, you could use either.
there's not an unnaturalist on there.
It's on mine, so it might be on yours.
Oh.
If you don't have something and you're looking for it, call me or text me, email me, and I will make sure that you get it on your system. There was two ways to add your opportunities. The one way, I add all the opportunities, and there's a whole bunch of extra ones we don't want. Like you can't log in, you can't use them anyway. So I go and filter all the opportunities, so you just get Heartwoods. But sometimes it calls out things, and Kimberly was saying the same thing. It called out initial training, and it shouldn't have. But that's where I have to put a help ticket in and have that fixed for our system. So, but
How did you pull up those descriptions so we could read those?
So you just click on
you
it,
just click on the little
it And
box.
it comes up.
yeah, then it populates.
Yep. So let's talk about when you go into here, one of your field research. I'm gonna use Coco Ross.
Oh, see.
So if I'm doing Coco Ross, it's usually for a week at a time. And I'm gonna put it, mine runs from Friday to Saturday, the opposite Saturday. So I put in my Friday and my Saturday, and I put 0.50, and then I go down to the description box and I put weather monitoring. Or snow, sleet, whatever I'm monitoring. And then I claim it. But here's another tricky part, because have you asked him about Texas waters or no, Michael?
No, we haven't.
Okay. When you decide whether or not you want to be a Texas water specialist, you will click that box down here. And then you'll submit your hours, because that counts as some of your Texas waters hours. But you're not there yet, so just put that on the back burner. And then you just have your hours approved.
Can you talk about on this, the mileage? Cause it will always scroll down.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, your personal record.
Yeah.
And just.
I take and have I have little journals for all the stuff that I run around and do. And if I'm going to go out and do, go somewhere else to do things, I'm gonna I'm gonna write my miles into it. So somebody the other day showed me that they use the old check ledgers. And I thought that was a brilliant idea, because I didn't know they still made them. But you can write the date, where you were going, and the hours and the miles that you went, and then come home and put it in your computer. You can do the same in your phone. It doesn't matter. But it's just another option to do those things and keep up with that. Now we're gonna go to another one in a minute, then you're gonna have to put populations in. But do y'all have questions about field research, Mike?
Just one comment on the water specialist. We do have a couple of people in here who were working on their Texas water specialist even before the class.
Okay.
So if they've entered anything into VMS, will it pick that up, or do we have to?
No, but you're gonna email me their names, and I'm gonna add that to their, I'm gonna add it to their VMS. It'll show up at the top of their, Yeah, that's not gonna show up there. I'll have to add it.
Okay.
So, okay, let's go direct outreach. Let's click on that so we can see. And it takes a minute to change over. So on direct outreach, we're gonna come down to impact data. And when you're doing direct outreach and you're going out into the field and we'll say you're at Huntsville State Park and you're working at, you're having a class about something, you're gonna count how many people are in your group, write that down. And I have a clicker that I take and I click how many people. Ranger John has two clickers, one for adults, one for children. I learned that when we were working together in November, and I'm like, that's brilliant. And because I had one clicker and I was thinking we were working the Nature Fest, and you're going to keep up with what you have in your group. And sometimes they want more detail, but most of the time it's just how many children, how many adults, stuff like that, if you're logging that. But, and if you click yes, it will pull up impact data for you to put in, okay? Texas Parks and Wildlife, they like to track this data. They want to see that we're reaching people, how many people we're reaching. So, and I don't worry too much about the other. I used to carry a little notebook when I was at Brazos Bend when we do interpretation on the trails, and I would mark all that. How many white, how many black? That's kind of what you do for them, and you enter that data right there. But it's not really pertinent. It's not really that important anymore. It depends on who you're working for, what they want you to log. So here we haven't had to worry about it. At Brazos Bend, I have to log it because they take all that data and they're trying to see if they're reaching everybody. And sometimes Texas Parks and Wildlife find out they're not reaching everybody they want to reach. And then they target different areas to get more people to their parks, diversity and stuff like that. And we have one of the most diverse parks in Texas. And we have all different languages spoken and everything. So they're always trying to see, who else can we get to come to our park? And we used to have a big giant book that everybody signed. And in one day, we would hear 7, 8 different languages within the Nature Center. And we would see all the different countries that everybody comes from that comes through there. Fort Bend County is the most diverse county in Texas. So it's pretty cool to see all that.
Melissa,
Yeah.
going back to the Coco Ross.
Yep.
When they're doing like a week's worth of reporting,
Mhm.
can they lump it all into one entry for
Yes.
this week, or do they need to do it day by day?
No, just one entry. So you would go from that one day to the last day. Okay, so that's direct outreach. We got field research. There's your initial training where all your initial training goes. Okay, so you find that on your drop down box and you put all your training on
So
there.
after today, when we're done here, you all, if you've been to both of the sessions, should be able to put in 6 hours of initial training. 2 that you did on the January 10th and 4 that you're getting today. So you're more than 10% already to graduation.
Just 4.5 on the spreadsheet here.
What? Oh, does it?
Are we shutting it short?
Got to 12:30.
Thanks for keeping us on this.
No, all of the training is under initial training, but it's separate,
So,
on separate dates.
You put the date in of your initial training and you put the description in the box.
But today is a separate initial
Yes.
training.
Yes.
It's also.
Yes.
Two sessions.
They're all separate, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, two separate.
They're all separate. And if you're doing Zooms and different things like that, I do want descriptions in the box. Who was your teacher? Where were you at or whatever? Because we're tracking that. If you missed a class and you want to make up a class at another time, then we'll know that. Because you have to have your 50 hours, right? 50 hours? 40, okay. Sorry, 50 hours is Master Gardener, sorry.
Yeah, another.
Yes,
The field research ones, do they all have to be sanctioned?
yes, they do.
Yes, so how do we get them sanctioned if it's not on the list?
You have to put a request in, and it has to be a large group of things that's happened in the past where we wanted to have, I'm trying to think what we had added.
We added that horse pen freeze cleanup at one point.
Yeah, and then if it doesn't stay, we take it off, and they don't want us having too many entries. So I have to run it up the chain and see. I'll give an example. If we're only having one person log hours on that, that's not worth it for the system. Now, if we have 10, 20 people logging hours on that, that's worth it for the system. And, but there is a place where you can put in new opportunity and give me a new opportunity. With every new intern class, I swear, we add a new opportunity. Like they get together and we find a new location that we can go do stuff at. And it's crazy, but it's usually every class, we have something new that has been brought up to us that we get to do. And it's really cool. So where were we?
Initial training.
Well, we are on initial training. Here's the new opportunity that you can enter a new opportunity if you'd like. And moving on to NPA. NPA is probably the least used opportunity that we have because it's just, it gets confused a lot. So it can be very confusing because you're doing a lot of the same things on your resource management. You're cleaning out cleaning out areas for the public and managing everything. But it's on here, it's not used a lot. It's BLC uses it the most on their trails and stuff like that, and their nature centers and places. So if you're on claiming this for BLC, a lot of times you would put in where you were on your description box. Well, all the time you would put in where you were cleaning your trails and what trail you were on. And then OT is other, this is where they claim, their office time or business time. So if somebody's doing stuff for Bayou Land Conservancy and they went to a board meeting for Bayou Land Conservancy, this is where they claim their board meeting is under OT, okay? This one does not get used a lot either. It's one of the very least used ones. So public outreach, this is one of the ones we do use a lot. And this is where you're leading and organizing and staffing an educational activity where participants come and go as they please. I'm not reading that all the way, but that means I have a booth. I have a booth and people are coming back and forth, through the booth. And you can keep data on that too. You got your little clicker and we're just keeping numbers at this point, how many people came to your booth. And you can log that too if you have impact data on that. And the same thing, you just log down here and put your impact data in.
Oh, sorry. I'll clean up.
So we have a lot of opportunities for public outreach. You can work booths at Mercer, W.G. Jones, Jesse Jones. There's lots of places to go out and work a booth. And usually we have all the stuff for you. We'll get you a tote ready and all of our tablecloths and different things. And you go out and you set up and somebody will help you. And that's where you're going to log your hours. Now, let's say you want to, you're going to create all that for your public outreach. You can log that time that it took you to create that to take it out to public outreach. Okay. And you'll have questions?
If we are volunteering at Mercer or WG
Mhm.
Jones or one of our other partners, is that under field research?
No,
That's under what?
it depends on what you're doing there. So
Okay. So
let's say you're
what is
going,
pollinator gardens?
that is resource management and it has to be native plants at Mercer. It cannot be anything other than native plants at Mercer.
Okay, I don't see resource management on here.
We're not there yet.
Oh.
Hang on.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So on the impact data, are you supposed to fill out all the boxes?
You don't
Or
have
just
to.
whatever you can?
You can just put, what we do is just adults and children for Heartwood.
Get you a clicker.
Well, like, then it goes down like men and women. Do you wanna say, it was like 60%?
It's so hard when you're working.
Yes, or do you just, you didn't collect it, so just.
Yeah, I just do how many people
Just
came
do
through the
that.
booth. Yes. It's really hard to do that. And that's why I was telling you, John has one for adults and one for children, which I thought was cool, because I only had one clicker. And,
The adult was
He-
bigger than the.
yeah, he had to, when we were at the fest, Nature Fest, it was the children that were the most. It was insane. I think I had over 400 something kids come through my booth. Yes, we were so busy and I didn't have an alligator. And then John didn't have one. The other TPWD had one. So we had a hoot, but anyway, it's a lot of kids and a lot of chaos, as you can imagine. But yeah, you don't have time. You're actually there presenting. Every time somebody comes up, you have your spill that you're trying to get across. And a lot of times it's hard to think to click while you're talking to people. And after they're walking away, you're trying to click. How many was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know? So it doesn't have to be that detailed. Your best guesstimate is great. So. And we do like to see which events, we have the most people at, definitely. Okay. RM, resource management, and we'll do a Dr. Loop. That's a good one to look at. So that's cleanup litter. Oh. Yeah, cleaning up litter, road habitat conservation. So a lot of people do this one and they do the woodlands trails. Like a lot of y'all do woodlands trails. So they put what trail they're on in the description box. So they went out, they picked up litter and they were there. They worked one section. Say they have one section they work every week. And they spend an hour, they log their hour and they put Spring Creek Trail or whatever road trail they're on in the woodlands. And that can also be, we have a trail at Mercer, I believe, and then it can be in different places that we've approved, okay? So you can't go outside of our county. Let's say you're off on vacation and you go to Caprock Canyon and you cannot record Adopt a Loop from Caprock Canyon. You do have to get permission for stuff like that if you're going out of our perimeters, okay? But we have plenty right here in this area that you can do. And that's your resource management. Let's scroll down to, oh, we're almost running out. There we go. Technical guidance. So this is where you're providing free detailed natural resource management. This is, I got up here as Bayou Land Conservancy. So if you're going out and researching for them and you're giving them technical guidance. Another example would be if I was going over to the pollinator garden and I was telling them everything they needed to plant, where they were going to buy it, when they were going to plant it, and all those details, that's technical guidance. Okay. You'll have questions? This is boring, isn't it?
No. Say you were doing your intern project. Is that something specific or is
Yeah.
it almost like subhead?
Last year, y'all put it under CB, did y'all put it under CB administration for the projects?
Where would you like to go?
Where would I, it doesn't matter what I would like to. It's gonna be under chapter of business stuff, CB admin. And when y'all go in there to do that, there's a drop down box. And we can put it under programs or training classes. Under CB admin and then put under training classes. That's where it can go. No, we were just discussing that. If you're researching, you can claim those hours. You're researching your project, putting all your stuff together, getting all your stuff together for your project. Writing all your stuff, everything. You can claim everything. That's your time that you're putting into your project. So, it depends on how much time you're gonna put into it. What?
When you go in, it's volunteer hours, not,
Correct. These are your volunteer hours. That's gonna go to your volunteer hours. So you have to have 40, so that, pick a good project. No. Pick a good project that you want to
need
do.
to do that with
So,
the project.
Melissa?
Yes.
So if your project say is, building a pollinator garden and it's one of the approved activities,
Mhm.
would you record the time that you do that under the activity, and then the time you spend preparing your presentation under the other category, do you know what I'm asking?
I think you're gonna lump it all in the same
You
thing.
put it all.
Yeah, for your, and it's your class project.
Okay.
And in the description box, you can put class project. So we know what it
Even
is.
if it's a service project that you're doing, it goes under class project.
For this, yes. And then put it under training classes, and then we'll know that's what you're doing.
Okay.
So, um,
Can you
Oh.
talk about double dipping?
yep, we're gonna get to all that. So that's our opportunities, and that's how you scroll down, click your opportunity, log your hours. It's pretty simple. We're under an upgrade of our system, so things may not always look the same when you log in. Sometimes things change, and don't panic. It's just part of what we're going through right now. What?
Okay, so I went ahead and did, because most of us went to the chapter meeting
Mhm.
last week. And I put in my 0.75 for advanced training. Yeah, but when I did the 0.75 for the chapter meeting, the business,
Mhm.
and it took me 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back, so an hour, 0.75. Is what I'm
No.
putting down.
1 hour.
You can't put more travel time than the amount of time of the meeting.
No, she said it took her
No,
30
let me-
minutes.
Okay,
The meeting was 0.75.
so do 1.5.
Yes.
75.
1.5. So everything's rounded up. We're getting to that. So when we're logging our time, everything's rounded up. So
But it asked me about miles at the end of it.
you can put that in there if you'd like. It's not gonna,
You're doing both.
if you want to do that, you don't have to. 0.25 is 15 minutes. 0.50 is 30 minutes. 0.75 is 45 minutes. And these are mistakes that get made in the system, and I correct them, but I'll let you know. I'll just remind you, hey, this is what it is. So just be careful logging it. And we have when I'm on my page right now, but I have a whole nother system that I go into that views everybody as a whole. And I can see at the bottom if the numbers don't add up right. So if those numbers aren't right, I have to go find the mistake and then correct them. What?
So what you're telling us, just to reiterate, there are only a few allowed numbers,
Mhm.
0.25, 0.5, 0.75.
5 and 1.
They all have to be,
Yes,
yeah, you can't put 0.35 or 0.47. It's one of those.
yes,
0.25 increments
yes,
are the only acceptable numbers.
Yeah.
So for the chapter meeting, there would be 2 entries.
Mhm.
0.75 for chapter business, 0.75 for AT, so you have to put in 2 separate examples.
Oh. Yeah, so if I'm going to,
Do the chapter meeting.
chapter meeting, and I've already logged mine, but what was it on the 14th? You put the date in, and I'm gonna put 0.75 and whoops. And then I'm gonna put chapter business. And then I go on to the next one, okay? I can delete all this later, don't worry. And I'm gonna go to chapter meeting. Same thing, 14th, 0.75. And then the drop down box, that you're gonna go all the way up here to chapter meeting, okay? Okay. And I'm gonna put chapter meeting in that box. And then I'm, okay, if you wanna put in miles,
In her example, she drove an hour and a half, or an hour.
yeah.
Do the drive time.
So then I'm gonna put
1.5
1.5,
is the max there.
yeah. And I'm gonna go down here and put, your meeting,
And
0.75, and then I'm gonna put drop time. Okay,
Okay.
perfect.
and that way you see, everybody knows, okay? And then if you were doing, we'll go do Coco Ross. Coco Ross, I'm gonna go in and do mine from last week, so I'll put in the 16th, through today. And I'm gonna put 0.50, oops. And that's how mistakes happen, 0.50. And weather, I'll just put watching, and then I'm a Texas water specialist, so I click my box and I claim it, and then it goes right back up to that. Okay?
From that, can you show how to edit?
Yes, I can.
Can I make one comment before you go to the?
Yes.
We're the Texas water specialist to keep Texas Parks and Wildlife Department square with the federal government, who does give them money associated
they do.
with Texas Water Specialist Training. Melissa Felty, who directs the program, has asked, when you make that entry, and you're gonna check in on our specialist fund, be sure the word water is in the comments box. Even better if you say water conservation, water stewardship, water cleanup. So if and when, not if, but when she gets audited, and the feds can say, yes, that was associated with water, so
Yeah.
it's a Texas water specialist.
So on weather, you can put rain, water
Yes.
on there.
So when you do, because invasive species removals, both,
Yes.
so
You-
what?
You can say water stewardship, removing invasives,
Mhm.
in the riparian or flood zone.
Yes, always say riparian or flood zone, because then she can count
The
it.
more you say, the better.
Yeah.
Or Melissa Felty.
She will edit it out. Like we just had that question. Somebody said, how come I have this many hours, but there's this many hours? That's because Melissa took some away.
Yeah.
Not me, Melissa Felty.
She will decline, but
Yeah.
by rule, if
Yes,
it doesn't, if it's not very specific that it's associated with Texas water, she
Yeah.
has to decline and it won't count towards your vol.
and she has to do that because every hour you volunteer is worth $24, give or take, right? And I don't know if they upped it or not. And they get federal funding from that stuff. So they watch it very closely. Any of our places that get federal funding, not everybody gets federal funding on here, so it's not that important. But water is one of the ones that is important. Let me show you how to edit, and then
Can you talk about double dipping and?
we're gonna get there. Let me do the editing. Okay, I don't know that we have a lot of people that double dip right now, but I'm gonna go back to the volunteer dashboard. And I'm gonna go to my logbook. And then, I already had this here, so I'm gonna click it on the AT, because I've already logged mine. And I'm just gonna scroll down here and delete that record, okay? Okay, delete. Now, let's say if I wanna edit one. I just put one in for Cocoa Rawns.
And you can only edit unapproved.
Correct. You can only edit unapproved. And then I can go in and edit and save that, okay? And I'm not gonna change anything, so I'm gonna push cancel. And I'll go back and clean that up. Now, if you made a mistake and it got approved, I can edit it. I have a little bit of time, so you can email me or text me and say, oh, I put the wrong thing in. It's already been approved. And if I don't see any red flags on it, I'll approve it, but you may want it to change something and I can change it and then get it reapproved. Okay? Now, double dipping. I don't know. Let's see.
There are some astronaut gardeners here.
Okay, their system's completely different.
Yeah,
But
this-
I strongly advise you not to do that. It's unethical to claim in both places. Even though their system's completely different. I'm actually the VMS person for the Master Gardener group. I just got promoted yesterday. Because the other lady quit. She didn't quit, she just resigned. But anyway, you can't double dip on those either. So you can only claim one or the other. So if you're doing Master Gardener work, it's Master Gardener work. And theirs is very limited. They only have a few options compared to ours. We have tons of options compared to that system. But I'll give an example of, I'm a volunteer at Brazos Bend State Park, and they're federally funded with their volunteer group. So if I go there and I'm working out on the trails, say I'm removing invasives and I go in, I cannot go claim that on our system and claim it on their system because they will catch it. They audit things and then somebody has to pay that money back. At Brazos Bend, all the volunteers do enough volunteering to keep 11 employees at bay. They don't need 11 employees because they have all those volunteers that do those jobs for them. Okay, so it's a lot of money, over $1 million that they get in different funding. So we can't double dip on those systems. But if you go out there and if you're not, if you're doing another project out there and you're not volunteering, you have your master naturalist shirt on, but you can't have your Brazos Bend shirt on. You can't have one washes out the other. It's either one or the other. You choose when you go to do those things.
Melissa, is that true at, say, Huntsville State Park as well?
It is not, because Huntsville State Park does not have the same sort of setup. So our VMS for Brazos Bend is on here. Like if I go in back to, you will only have it if you're a volunteer at one of the other parks. Okay, so angler education is another one too. And I can put Brazos Bend in and what we do there, but it doesn't mix with my master naturalist, but it's on the same system. They have the same system that we have, but they can't go in and pull all the same data we can pull. I mean, there's just different things. It's all different for the state parks. Huntsville's they want to do that. John wants to do that, and it's been in the works. So he's been working with our volunteer group, sending his people over there to take our classes and stuff like that. So I know that's in the making. And then when it does happen, you won't be able to do we won't have those opportunities on here anymore. You'll have a Huntsville State Park at the top that you click and it'll look like this if that ever happens for them. And then they'll get to track their park stuff. So I don't think there's any other issues of double dipping.
It's a tangent to double dipping. So I think we might have people we have in the past who, as part of the job they get paid for, do certain things. They can't then count that as volunteer hours.
No.
Clarify that.
You cannot be paid, work for an agency and claim your job as those hours. And we'll use Terry MacArthur for that. Okay, Terry MacArthur worked for the Woodlands Township. She was their water management person and she did all the classes there. She could not claim those hours because she was an employee of the Woodlands Township. Okay, I do tons of gardens every day at my 5 daycare centers that I manage. Can I claim that? Absolutely not. I'm a salaried employee. I cannot claim that because I'm on the clock. But if I invite somebody else to come do it and they're not, they can claim hours.
But even though if you do work, if you're doing something outside of your normal job activities at another, you're doing an outreach program for Master Naturalists, you do count those out.
Yes.
Volunteer hours.
Yes, I just can't do it at my place of work.
Yeah.
So I've gone into school districts when they have their GT classes and taught, what did Terry have me do? Invasive species. One time, in different schools, I can go in and do that. I can claim my hours that way. Same thing for Mercer, Anita Tiller. She works there. She is their biologist there. She can't claim hours on her work, but she can claim it outside. So it's conflict of interest, bottom line. And I think we do sign a conflict of interest form. So do y'all have more questions on that? Any questions?
What about, isn't there, if you're working, like if a place has a store and they sell things to the people who come in, if you're like helping do the selling or whatever, is there any restriction on claiming that as volunteer hours?
I don't believe so because we have plant sales. We can have 2 fundraisers where we have plant sales or something. We can have a fundraiser. We just haven't done it where we raise money. And
I know a member who works at Huntsville State Park. And works in the front office, area, and I think sometimes works in if they have a gift shop.
They do.
It's but he's not being paid, it's volunteer work.
You can do that.
Yeah.
It's volunteer
Yeah,
work.
I think that's. Yeah.
I'm not sure how their gift shop works there, but at Brazos Bend, our gift shop that we work in, all the money goes back to the volunteer organization. It doesn't go, it goes back to the park at some point. They can put in a request for us to buy them a tractor or whatever they want to do, but it's all goes back to the volunteer group. If you're working the nature center there, they don't have any gifts in that shop. No, they don't. I don't think so. But in the gift shop, if you're volunteering and the money goes back to the organization, which it would, I think that's.
Yeah.
And if we have two fundraisers and we're selling plants or something like that for our fundraisers, then you can. I just think it's all conflict of interest if it's something outside of our. Any more questions?
Yeah, from somebody on the chat about the intern projects. So if they're working at clearing grasses or something invasive, and they're putting that, should they put, and they're gonna then do the project on that, should they put that under the clearing invasives? And then just put the part where they pull it together into a project under the.
Yeah, they can, now if they're doing one thing to get to the other, yes. Yeah, they can separate that out if it's part of their thing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so we talked about mileage, we talked about time increments that we place. We want to talk about field research. Again, go over that a little bit. So we have INAT that y'all can do with the sanctioned stuff. Bird populations. I'm trying to think, what is another one that, eBird we're not doing, huh? Cocoa Raz. All of those are really easy ones for y'all to get your hours on. Now, if you're doing feeder watch, you do have to pay $18 to Cornell to log that data. But you get a poster and all this other cool stuff. It's worth the $18. And I can't wait to go back home and watch my little birdies.
In a coupon for, well.
You do, it's on my desk. And I had to go there yesterday because I didn't have any birdseed. So.
Until Ross, you have to buy the approved.
Yes, so you do have to buy the approved rain collector. And it's a big one with a tube in the middle. And I mean, it can go and go and go. I guess it was Harvey where we had all that rain and I had to like empty mine multiple times to document. So instead of daily, I did it for the week because it was so much rain.
Yeah, we're gonna get to Cocoa Raz at some point, but also you cannot just buy the equipment and place it anywhere in your house, which was.
No.
Because it needs to be super far from the fence.
Yep.
Because my thought was, oh, I'll place it on the fence, and then you cannot because it alters your readings. So you actually need to have a location.
Mhm.
I don't mind having fall with the gauge in the middle of my garden, but it may ruin your view of yours, so.
Yeah.
It's something to consider.
You can go to that website, cocoraz.gov, I think, or .org, and you can go look at all that data and do it now this weekend because they have the snow and sleet videos on there, and that's kind of cool in the ice, and you learn something else. And then when you go to do the class on that, you'll have all that information too. So go ahead.
Can you clarify when you can do field research on your own property?
Feeder watch is one of them. Cocoa Raz is one of them. The big sit is one of them, the birding big sit. If you're birding, if for some reason you're doing the Christmas bird thing and that circle is on your property, but it's highly unlikely that it is. Sometimes it is. Mine is barely there from Club Woods. And one of our members was like, she called me, she goes, is that Rufus hummingbird at your house? I need it for the count. And I'm like, it's not here yet, but I'm right there on the edge. I'm like, you want me to shoo it to your yard? So you count. But if something, we have circles on INAT that when we're doing those BioBlitz, and you may be encompassed by those circles, and then you can count it then. If not, you may have to get in your car and drive to where the BioBlitz is happening, But we do have the April one that is on your property. It's everywhere from here all the way down, Dallas to Gulf Coast. And that's a big thing, the city nature, one. And y'all can put all that into INAT, that counts for everything when y'all do that one. Have y'all used all that yet or no? Have y'all gotten there?
No.
No, okay. I don't want to talk too much about stuff like that if you're not there. It gets really confusing and you jump ahead of everything and then.
But for example, Cocoa Runs will be talked about it on weather.
Yes, it will be. A lot of the stuff that you're seeing on here, maybe you haven't talked about it yet, but it will be coming up in your training. So if you decide you're going to do something or you want something added like Texas Waters, we'll add it to your system. And it'll be fun for y'all to learn everything. And I don't want to overwhelm you either. I'll start rattling off stuff I shouldn't. So, okay, so y'all have more questions about this. I showed y'all where you can check everything right here. And then you can also go to report my service and go all the way down to, no, it's not gonna do it there. Hang on. Wrong one. Logbook. And then scroll all the way down to the bottom and it also has your description of everything, of how much you did of everything. Divide it up. Board work, hours management on me because I'm doing VMS. And then Texas Waters, it tells me how many Texas Water hours I have. So that's where you check everything. So if something's not adding up and you have questions, maybe something got put in the wrong place. I can always fix everything. So don't fret. I can fix it.
I assume I gotta do that on my phone. I can enter stuff, but I can't get.
Only on the computer will you have certain views. Your phone is limited.
If you do it in a horizontal on your phone, it will
I think I
populate.
tried, but
Will it?
I can see that I put things in, but I don't have any detail in that.
Okay.
But it was much easier on an iPad or a laptop.
Yeah, the bigger your screen, the easier it is.
Melissa, comment on the 45-day window.
Oh, yes. So you have 45 days to log your hours and then that's it. No, I'm going to encourage you to log them weekly, at least weekly. And there's reasons for that too. We don't want to go past the 45 days because of federal funding. Some of the grants and stuff that we get quarterly, it's logged, so you have to have all those hours in by 45 days. So make sure that you're keeping up with all your hours somewhere, whether it's on your phone, logging them on your phone, what you did, where you've been, and then make sure weekly or every 2 weeks, whatever works for you, but within the 45-day period. Okay. Once you become certified, and say you're certified and we're going into the end of the year, and I see that you're getting close to double certifying, which that means you have to have 80 volunteer hours and 16 ATA hours. I'll call you up or email you and say, hey, you only need 0.50 to get this, encourage you so you can get certified. Our regular members that just certify every year, you can't double certify anytime after this, okay? I will do the same for them. If I see something like they only need an hour or two to get certified, I'm going to call them or email them and let them know and text them and tell them so they don't miss out on their certification and don't miss out on a pin. So this year's pin is the Bobcat. So if you certify, you get your little Dragon 5 pin. Oh, and she took the pins. I usually show everybody the pins. You have it. Yeah. So you can walk around and show them their pins. You'll get your name tag and then you'll start putting, I should have brought my lanyard. I have so many pins on it, but, you'll get your pins. So every year you get a new pin. It's exciting. We always like to see what we're going to get. So this year's the Bobcat. So your goal may be to certify and get your first pin, but you may want to get that Bobcat pin, which means you need 80 volunteer hours this year and 16 advanced training, plus your class hours, your 40 hour of initial training. Okay. And then you'll get your Bobcat pin too. So it's a lot, but if you're doing, I don't know what everybody likes to do. Maybe you're coming here and you haven't been to any of our partners yet. And then you start going on the field trips and learning stuff and you'll get excited and like, I'm going to go everywhere. There's so much to do. We have so much opportunity and we have so many places in our county and outside of our county that are fun to go do stuff for. And just sometimes just hiking and picking up trash or whatever. It's getting outside, having fun. And then public outreach is fun, getting to talk to people and get other people excited about nature and taking care of our county and our earth for that matter. So
So Melissa, can you talk to the path of when they can see these things being approved as far as time?
sometimes it's daily, sometimes it's weekly. Lately, a lot of people have putting in a lot of hours, so I have to go in daily and approve them. And then it'll slow down and I'll go in every couple days and approve them. So it just depends on, you shouldn't see them sitting there very long, probably not longer than 5 days. I'm pretty good about approving things pretty quickly. Now I have Kim and Stephanie to help. It gets really slow in the summer because it's so hot. A lot of people don't go out and we're a cool weather chapter. Like everybody's out doing stuff right now. And then as it's not only about being hot in the summer, people have vacations. So it kind of dies down and then it starts picking up really high speed between October and December because the weather's good again and everybody's getting out. I mean, we have our diehards that go out and hit those trails every week, like Bayou Land Conservancy people. Is anybody else in here from Bayou Land Conservancy? Yeah.
You can come sweat with us.
Yeah. Get with Diane, she'll take you on her workout. They have a lot of stuff. So a lot of our partners have scheduled work days, so WD Jones is what, Tuesdays and Thursdays for the pollinator garden. And then Bayou Land Conservancy has their scheduled days. So you have a lot of opportunity. Once you start learning about all of our partners, you'll find your niche where you like to be, your people, your group, your
And
thing.
those of you that walk in San Houston.
Yeah.
State Park has a lot of.
Huntsville, yeah. Huntsville has a lot of opportunities.
In East County, you can get over into,
Like
activities.
Houston Wilderness.
Houston.
That is a beautiful park. Beautiful park. It's got Peach Creek running through it. It's a beautiful bridge. I love to go out there and take photos. Dragonflies, birds, just all kinds of beautifulness
And
there.
down in the spring area, you get to Mercer.
Yeah,
You get to
there's so
Spring
much.
Parkway.
Yeah.
You just, the green line runs all through there.
It is
So
beautiful.
there's enough opportunity. Club Woods is great.
And birding.
Living on the west side.
Yeah, that Club Woods is about 10 minutes from my house. That's a good birding place and go in there and check their nature center out. There's some of these places you've probably never been and you'll get excited because there's really nice things. Club Woods just put a new mural in. It's been there for a while, in the kids center, the little nature center, and it is gorgeous. And they put all these little things in there. Adrienne was there and she's like, can you find all the things? I'm like, I had a group of kids with me. I'm like, we will find everything and we go through there. But a lot of our places, Spring Creek Greenway or Nature Center, they have a wonderful nature center and they have lots of animals and stuff in there. Their trails are nice. You can go all the way down to Spring Creek. And then when you get to Spring Creek, there's all those little tiger beetles and stuff. Not right now, but tiger beetles, and there's all kinds of birds. I get excited talking about it. I love to take people out to this stuff and then working public outreach, sharing that information with them and getting them out into our parks is a lot of fun. So I'm sure each one of you will find something you really like, and maybe somebody will bring something new to the table for us, because like I said, we always get something new for our season. So
if you're in a position where you're working full time, that's where Lisa's whole talk about committees. And
yeah,
which is where you can log under chapter business committee work.
mhm.
You get on hours. Like,
Yes,
helping do stuff at home in the evenings, sending out emails, working on the communication.
all that counts. You're sending out emails, you're making phone calls, and our little VMS committee now, which we didn't have when it was just me, and now I have Stephanie and Kimberly. So we had a Zoom the other day. Then I got off with you and I was on the phone with Kimberly. So I was like, you log that, you keep up with it. But we do need a lot of help on the committees, and our committees make our group run smoother. It's just you're helping, giving a helping hand, you're helping. And that's important because it's not easy running a big group like this. We're up to 201 members right now. with all of y'all in there, when I pull up VMS and I look at all of our numbers, it's 201. When I started in 2017, there was only like 75 members. It was not a lot. So this is a big jump. So the committee people do need help with things. And the old saying, many hands make light work for everybody. And it just makes things easier. But
Another one from, online, I found a messy creek near Tractor Supply, notified. Would that be something like adopt a path or adopt a highway, or can I not do that?
go research it and find out and bring it to us and tell us what you want to do. And we'll look and see where it's at. It may be on Spring Creek, right? Is that all 45?
I think that's where the Tractor Supply is a little north of Spring Creek.
We could find out which tributary it is and see.
And for some of these, they need to be defined, adopt a path, adopt a loop, adopt a highway. But under, it's beautiful, you can go clean the area up, do the litter audit, and which is open to everybody, and report the information, report your findings. All the information's on the website, Keep Texas Beautiful, you know, the form, the instructions, and the entry. And call it a litter audit under Keep Texas Beautiful and submit it as, that's an approved.
It is, and Carolyn Worsham did that with Lake Conroe. And she put it on there because she was picking up trash in her kayak. And she would paddle around and she would pick up trash and it fell under that Keep Texas Beautiful. And she filled out the form and she submitted everything and it worked. So look at it and go see if it qualifies for something.
All right, one more question. Can you show them again where they would put the current violets?
The current violets is going to go.
Sorry.
It's gonna be field research. And you have two different places, invasive species. What was the other one that y'all were gonna use that you put in the newsletter?
Naturalists.
Whoops. Not seeing it. Naturalists is not, I don't see it.
It's on mine, so.
It may have been,
Yeah, I've got it on mine too.
okay, good. I'll have to go back and see why it's not on mine, but INAT. And then, or invasive species. And then put your location, of course, where you're at. If you do, is it all weekend? Is it
It's
just,
until the 1st of February.
oh, wow.
But you are actually not gonna see anything after the freeze. So if you're gonna do it, I'm going after the freeze and
It'll all be.
everything is
frozen.
gonna wilt and be, yeah. And then like, what are you gonna take photos of? Like,
Dead stuff? No,
INAT is not gonna ID that, so.
no, it won't.
They extended it to the 1st of February. I really don't understand why they planned it for January when we have such a long season.
You could get, is it just plant-based or are you doing everything that's invasive?
It's plant because Midside is sponsoring it.
Yes.
right?
Okay, so it's not the others, like you can find many other invasive things.
Yeah,
That's why.
it might have been like December, December, we didn't get a freeze in December, but yeah.
You're gonna have another freeze next weekend, so in the 30s, from what I hear. So,
Carolina, it's a naturalist project, INAT. Where?
I know NIPSA has their own, you go with your NIPSA chapter, but that's all I know.
if you log into, we have NIPSOT on here too for VMS. But if you go to your INAT account, it should list the BioBlitz. And you should be able to put it under there.
Yeah, people can't find it.
They can't find it on INAT? So who's sponsoring it? Is it our local NIPSOT or is it state? Okay.
There's a competition between chapters, so the chapters.
Well,
with the
then it
most
should be on there like that.
observations is getting a.
I was able to find it. Where did I, what's it called?
And for those of you that don't remember, but NIPSA, Native Plant
Society of Texas, yes. And that's another group. So we have a lot of subgroups from our group. NIPSOT's one of them. And,
Projects. 2026 Leaf Sorting Basic Species BioBlitz.
under projects?
Under
Under projects, okay. So you might be able to get a little time in next week.
Let me
When it
just
warms
say
up.
out loud for these people online, 2026 NIPSOT invasive species bioblitz should be in INAT now.
So you'll have to go create an INAT account and put all your stuff in if you don't have one. And then you should be able to pull it up after you've got your account made. And when you're going to some of the parks, let's say you go to Huntsville State Park and you're gonna do, it's not Adopt a Loop on that one, is it? Hang on. Is it Adopt a Pat? No. You go back up and see. There's some, I'm not seeing some of the things that should be on here. I'm gonna have to go back through and add them, but there is. When you go to Huntsville State Park and you're doing iNaturalist or you're using your iNaturalist there. And you pull up projects or adopt a loops there, they'll have a number for it. And then all that data is gonna go under that project. So anytime you're in a park that has a project going on, all of that can go into iNat, and y'all are gonna have that class too. So. There's just so much, there's so much stuff. Do y'all have other questions, or is there something else that we need to cover on it's not that, there's not a lot to it. And you learn as you go. So, like I said before, I can fix anything. There's nothing, you can't break it. Unless you're a VMS admin. No. And like I said before, we're going under an upgrade. So if you log in and see something different on your screen, don't panic. They just did something, they fixed something. So it's not a big deal. The most important thing you need to know is to log your hours in a timely manner within the 45 days. And we will all be good. And
Don't forget to have a sheet in the back of your manual that helps you figure out when that 45 days is at each time.
yes, and it is on our website too. Our website has a little gauge that tells you within the 45 days. You'll see it say green or red on there. Did y'all?
Can you show them?
We can go back to that. As I cut through Heartwood. Oh. No. There we go. There it is. So there's our little. Oh, it's not on there. The dates aren't on there.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's June. No,
That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
yeah, it's not, the dates aren't on there, but it usually has a time frame.
As you can see, we need help with social media and a website. So if you'd like to join the communications team, they already have a project for you.
Yeah, they do. There's all these projects. Bulletins, and all that goes under your chapter administration if you're gonna do those kind of things in committees, and then you put what committee you're on, what you're doing. So that's another opportunity to get your hours. So if we have clerical people in here, that's great. Cause that is not me.
So real quick, looking at your manual, when is the last day to record BMS for last class?
February 24th.
Okay, February 24th. So that's our first deadline, February 24th. Great.
So just a couple comments. One, I know you feel like you're in a new employee orientation going through all of this.
Thank you, Melissa.
You're welcome. I have,
It is a lot. And hopefully it's the one time.
I don't know if I need to give you a copy of that. So you can.
Melissa always talks about it at the chapter meetings anyway, but it's important to get this.
Or send me one like
It
this.
does provide
Okay, I'll just.
funding and information
It's
that
on my computer too.
the
so I can
state
send it.
agency, as well as the chapter, can use to demonstrate what's going on. Those, when you start showing people with the money, the number of volunteer hours, that are done by all the chapters, it gains attention. So my, point to this being, this is an unusual class, having only spent a bit of time working on actual master natural or naturalist stuff. It is the subsequent classes, there's some of them where you will be drinking from a fire hose based on the presenter that comes in there. So some are not nearly as calm, cool and collected as Gwen is. Some of the geology and ecological systems and weather, some of those, I took pages and pages of notes. So, kind of look forward to that part of it. Well, thank Melissa for coming out and doing that. We're hoping this hour and a half saves all of us time. And Ryan, I'll swear to that.
If you have any questions about, your hours, please reach out to your mentors or anybody on the training team. And please, list your key takeaways for today as you leave on the flip chart. And Virginia will be sending out an email reminder about next week's class. Be on the lookout about Wednesday, Thursday time frame. So be safe this weekend, you guys.
Yeah.
With the weather.
Be safe, stay warm.
Too.
Yeah.